To give a shout out to our sponsors of the week. It is Illegal Image Clothing. You could check them out on Instagram, Illegal Image Clothing. And then we got our brother and the one that's putting it down, punching back in LA County and all over Southern California. His name is Attorney Rosenberg. You guys could check him out at Attorney Rosenberg. And then if you guys want to get some training, some fitness, some nutrition, get your mind right, get your body right, get right for summer, tap in with my boy JB Fitness. That's JB_Fitness on Instagram. And we also got the homies at Rap Kings. That's right, Rap Kings_LV. If you guys want to get your walls, businesses wrapped, vehicles, they do it all. So make sure you guys let them know that Mr. Criminal sent you. And last but not least, we got Tradecraft Farms. That's right, the homie Daniel Rodriguez of the UFC pulled up this week and tapped in with a bag of that Tradecraft, and we've been in touch. So I want to give a shout out to all our sponsors. Make sure you guys give them a follow. Make sure you guys show some love and support.
It's your homeboy Ricardo giving a shout out.
Yo, what's cracking? It's me, Alvino.
This is Veronica. It's Monica from Atlanta.
Yeah.
Calling in from the San Fernando Valley.
Calling from
And we back, baby.
On Wicked Boulevard every weekend. Out from Denver, Colorado.
Episode number 10.
supporting the Crime Family Entertainment.
Mr. Criminal on air live, the most active and realest podcast on the West Coast.
Family Network podcast.
And we back with episode number 10.
And I'm supporting the Crime Family Network podcast.
Mr. Criminal on air live, like I said, the most active and realest podcast on the West Coast. And we've been making history week after week. Shout out to everybody out there subscribing, tapping in, supporting. Tonight we got another legend in the building. And we straight bringing legends to the building, Critical. It's been nonstop.
Yes,
And tonight I'm very pleased and proud to bring my homeboy to the table. Somebody I grew up since I was a little boy, Critical. You know the stories.
Oh, yes, I do.
I grew up on this man, and some of the most influential records of the West Coast has been presented to our radio waves by this gentleman. He has created a brand on the West Side before people were repping the West Side and music like that.
That's right.
And we doing it for reals. And he holds up the flag real high and proud for Latinos. So I want to bring to the stage my homeboy, Westside Radio.
That's right.
Julio G is in the building.
I'm in here. I took me a minute to get here, but I got here. Criminal.
What's cracking?
I gotta
homie?
represent with you, man. I gotta represent
and
with you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
How you
we go
doing?
way back. So
yeah,
we go way
definitely
back.
do. They don't even know the.
They don't know
whole
the stories, the real true stories.
But
you know
tonight
what I mean?
they're gonna figure it out.
Yeah, we're gonna tell them some things tonight, of course.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me out here. I appreciate you
Man.
inviting me in, man. And of course, I had to make it happen for you because we go way back. So, thank you, man. I appreciate it, bro.
Hell yeah. And the first thing he said, Critical,
What's up, man?
he put on the headphones and said, "Damn, Criminal, you guys got some nice headphones."
That's what I said. I said, "Damn, these are some nice headphones. What are these?
Yeah.
I need to use some of these next time."
He said
to
that.
California love.
Yeah, he said it's radio quality.
Yeah,
so we
radio
got, We
quality.
got stamped out by the legend right here, man.
For sure.
Yeah, and that's how we do it. Hey, Critical,
What's up, my boy?
we've been making a lot of history, a lot of noise. We just hit the very first month, 4 weeks on our podcast,
Yes, sir.
and we've hit 15 million impressions in 30 days.
Wow, that's
We've
great.
hit over 100,000 on our first episode, 77,000 on our second. I think it's like 66,000 on the third.
That's
and
great.
the Spotify, the Apple streams, the music, it's just taking off all over. And we want to thank everybody, like I said, every single person out there supporting all over the world. And I guess they're gravitating towards this love that we're putting on this microphone, Crit.
Yes, sir.
We're out here trying to push the community in something positive. Like I tell everybody out there, there's enough podcasts out there pushing the negative narrative.
Yeah.
And trying to ask people about their beefs and how they grew up in gangs and all that. We already know that through the music. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to show the celebration of the culture, the celebration of the music, the creation, where it came from, where the love came from, the birth, and the celebration of it all, man. Because it's a blessing to have these talents and to be able to present our voice to the world. So
For sure.
before we get to the story, Critical.
Yeah.
Weekly news, my G. We got the
go.
Hood TMZ right here for California Love
Stop
Studios.
it,
What do we
stop
got?
it.
What's going on?
Hey man, Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre are celebrating their 30 years of Doggy Style. And guess how they're doing it?
How's that?
They just announced the show, and they're gonna do their whole album, the 1993 classic album, and they're gonna do it with a full live orchestra.
That's gonna be hard.
Amazing.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Hollywood Bowl, 2023, June 27th and 28th.
Wow. 30 years, man.
Wow.
Wow. And hip hop just turned 40.
That's dope.
Isn't that amazing? We just keep hitting these
No, 50.
milestones.
It turned 50.
Oh, 50.
50.
Oh, 50.
This is
Damn,
our
I got
50.
corrected. Damn.
Yeah, this is our 50 this year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Oh, that's right.
I can't wait to see that though. That's gonna be amazing to see because Dr. Dre, when he does things, he just takes it to the next level, and he's such a musician. So that's gonna be an amazing. It's gonna be amazing to see what they even do, what they do with G thing and things like that. Just because it's so musical. You know what I mean? So with a whole orchestra, that's gonna be crazy, man. I can't wait to see that.
You know what's super dope? And I was just telling my wife this the other day. I'm a student of the game, and I listen to music and I pick it apart. And I'm like a boxer. How boxers study other boxers and how they shadow box and all that, and how they block everything. And I was telling my wife, the whole Chronic album was sampled by Parliament. Half the whole, most of 90% of the album.
Pretty much. That's what that was actually at that time. Was when he came with that record, he kind of got out of the NWA sample sound where he was just dropping all these samples with the good dun 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 dun. It had all these different pieces, kind of like Public Enemy. You know what I mean? But you notice when he got into the Death Row era, he went into replaying things and bringing basically the funk into it, brought the G-funk basically into that whole situation. So that was that era. That's where Dre took it at that time. So that's where it shifted. You know what I mean? So
hell yeah.
Yeah, that whole album, that first album, if you really pay attention to it, it's pretty much Parliament.
Yeah, and I bring that up for the fact that when they graduated the sound to the next level, when they stopped leaning on the sound of Parliament, and when Dre started finding himself as a producer to produce more original music, it started going to a very orchestral type of situation. All the sounds were starting to be very, very stringy. Lots of pianos. They started bringing the Scott Storch, the Millmans, or the Hitmans, all this type of people. So I think that it's going full circle from to the orchestra, right, Crip?
Yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, before we get started, I wanted to give you something, man.
What you got?
I brought you something, bro.
What you got, big dog? I see all that Los Angeles Kush all over the
some
place.
LA Kush. I brought you.
Man.
You gotta have a hoodie. You gotta have a hoodie, bro.
Ah, that's love.
You gotta have a hoodie.
That's just,
And of course, you gotta have a hoodie's not enough. You know what I mean?
man, you come to my home
I gotta
and you
give you
bringing
that.
me gifts. I was supposed to
Paradise Haze.
Wow.
Some King of LA.
Wow.
Some Blood Walker.
Wow.
And we got some Black Gelato.
Wow, it looks like it's gonna be a lit session.
And some LA Kush lighters I threw in there for you, man.
Man, I appreciate you, man.
Yep. And I brought a hat for your girl. Nice little.
Thank you.
give
His
her a
baby
hat.
girl
Yep.
gonna rock that for
And
sure.
a beanie too, man. You know
Man,
what I mean?
that's love.
So yeah. So I'm gonna
Hey.
throw this all in here, man. So that's from LA Kush, bro.
Man, shout out to LA Kush.
Yeah,
you
we
already
got
know.
you. We got you.
Anybody that knows me and my team, I got, baby, do I not have a hat almost exactly like his right here in my closet? I've been rocking it for like 5-6 years, maybe even longer, man. That's what we do. We got to support and cross culture
For sure.
supporting, you know? So
For sure, man.
that's
Thank
a
you.
beautiful thing, man. So now that we're talking about the music and what's up, Crip? Man, that's amazing to have this type of sponsors and love from these type of companies. So let's explain a little bit before we get into the background or anything. What's your affiliation with this company is? How you get this type of love, bro? 'Cause
Oh,
you
LA
brought-
Kush.
Yeah.
Oh, LA Kush are just really good friends of mine, and they've been very supportive of myself, and we just kind of like support each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm more in the kind of the light out there, so I always try to represent. But these are some friends of mine that I came over from way back. You know what I mean? And I've just been supportive because they've been good friends, and I just want to see them win. You know what I mean? So I may be having some LA Kush, some Julio G coming from LA Kush also, so my own flower.
Hell yeah.
Because I like indica so much. I want to do a Julio OG.
Oh, that's hard.
Yeah, like a Julio OG or maybe a Westside Radio. I don't know. I'm not sure yet, but we're gonna figure that out. But yeah, I've been working with LA Kush for some years now. So yeah, it's my fan, man. So I always represent everywhere I go with him. You know.
Hell yeah. So we're gonna take it all the way to the soil, all the way to the bottom, all the way to the very beginning.
Yeah.
I would love to know how Julio G became who he is today, where he fell in love with music, where you grew up, where the story was created, where you picked up a turntable, the first love for hip hop, it all. Let's lay it on the table.
Well, I mean, my story starts way back in like 1972. My mom, myself, we moved to a city called Linwood, right next to Compton, Watts, that area. I was a little kid, I was 5 years old when I moved there, so I didn't really know where we were moving to. I don't think my mom really knew either. We just ended up in Linwood, but from the beginning, I was lucky to grow up on a musical block. Everybody on my block did something in music, one of my friends his pops was a jazz person, so he had all the jazz records. So when I'd be over there and, he'd be playing, Monk Higgins, and he'd be playing like Herbie Hancock. He'd be playing like Roy Ayers a lot, and just a lot of just stuff that I remember from him, but not like, hey, come listen to this. It was just kind of on at their crib, you know what I mean? Then my other friend Ray, he used to be into disco, so I soaked up the disco at his house, and then my friend Marcellus, he was into funk and everything that was out at that time. So I was just around a lot of music when I was growing up. My neighborhood was just really into music, so I absorbed all these different styles of music. And then eventually later came hip hop, but I started with funk, like just old school funk and oldies. I mean, a little bit of everything. I like new wave music. We used to listen to everything: disco, new wave, funk, pop music. Then later house music came. I mean, we listened to a little bit of everything growing up. So I was always in that music kind of thinking, you know what I mean? And then dancing, because we used to have all these different dances we would do every summer. It was a new dance. You had to learn it, and everybody did routines, and it was just music. That's all I remember growing up, is just being into music. But I never knew I was going to be into DJing. I just knew that I liked music. That came later on, you know what I mean? But we all started, like my friend Marcellus and myself, we started with a cassette deck, and then like we would make our own little tapes, and we would try to get it off the radio and hope the guy didn't talk, so we could be like, boom, like so as soon as Roger's song came out, we'd be like, boom, we'd record the next one. So we try to make, even back then in our head, we were trying to make like a continuous mixtape without really knowing it. But we were doing it off the radio. Wow. So it was really, really crazy how we would do that. And then later on, like when I did get on the radio, I always answered my own phones, because when I was young, I remember me and my friend Marcellus, rest in peace, we were trying to get Ray Parker Jr. and Radio had just put this record out called, I think it was Still in This Groove. And we were like, man, it was so hard. We were just like, we gotta get this. We had the cassette ready, the radio, and I remember we kept calling the radio station for hours, man. Like, man, they won't pick up. We want to just, can you play one time? That's all we got to hear. So I remember since I was a little kid, like trying to get through, and we couldn't get through. So when I got on the radio, I always made a thing about that. Like I would always answer my own phones. I would want people to be able to get through if they had something they wanted to say, you know what I mean? But basically that's how I kind of came up. I just came up in a musical environment, and a lot of black friends growing up, so I learned a lot of, their music, and like I said, my Hispanic friends, music from them. So it was just a mixture of everything.
Hell yeah. So what was the first time that you picked up a turntable?
Turntable came, I started first, when I first was young, I used to lock a little bit. Then I used to pop a little bit for fun. But I took breakdancing really serious, and I became very popular in the area, breakdancing. But my friend Marcellus, once again, my friend, he had older cousins, so they took him to an Uncle Jam's Army dance one day.
Wow.
And he came to the house, and in his garage, he had a pool table, and he put like this raggedy, messed up turntable, a little realistic mixer, and this other like consola turntable he took out of somewhere, and he just made it work because he was really good with taking things apart. And I went in there, and he's like, man, I went to Uncle Jam's Army, and he had sucker MCs, and he had sucker MCs from Run DMC, and he played it in front of me. He said, man, I seen Bobcat do this. He went, dun 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 ticket dun 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 ticket. And when I seen him do that, I was like, oh, like I want to do that. Like I really want to do it. I would mess with it here and there, but I like really wanted to do it when I seen the whole setup. So that was the beginning, but I still didn't have like my turntables or nothing like that. I was just kind of like an idea at the time, because I was like into breakdancing and all that stuff still. Then I went home. I used my mom's consola, and I started scratching on my mom's consola with no mixer, no nothing, just with one hand. And then my friend Marcellus once again taught me something. He would get a bag from like the grocery store, like the those like beige looking bags?
Yeah.
And he would cut out the circle of the turntable and put a hole, and then he put that one, And then he would get, you know, back in the days when you would pull out the records, sometimes it came in them white sleeves, and then sometimes it came in them kind of like plasticky, little thin plasticky sleeves. He would get one of those and cut a circle of that one, and then put another paper bag and cut a circle of that one. So you had the bottom bag, the plastic one in the middle, and the other bag on top. And then I would put the record on top, and that would let me kind of be able to cut. Because those turntables, those consola turntables weren't direct drive. They weren't made for that. So I had to kind of make that work. And he taught me that. He was a young kid too, man. He was really smart at like to think that out. Like I would have never thought of doing that. But it made it work enough to me, like to be able to dig.
Wow.
So when I first started, I just would do one hand scratch. But it taught me later when I got a fader a little bit more. I was a little bit more ready to. I didn't have to use a fader that much. I could do a lot of cutting just with just my one hand without that much fader. You know what I mean? So I learned that from a consola.
You already had the technique.
Yeah, I learned that from that. You know, that's how I got into it. And then a couple friends here and there would have a turntable I could touch and scratch a little bit. And then later on in high school, I met a guy named Ray Rodriguez, and he's the one that let me like use some Technique 1200s that he had. And that's when I really got into like, oh man, I got to get my money together to buy the equipment because I didn't have. We were broke back then. So, but that's what got me going. So thank you to Ray Rodriguez. He was very instrumental in my coming up for sure.
That's beautiful. And the Technique 1200s are still a staple to this day.
$500, man.
Nothing's out-topped them, right? That's still the standard. I remember when
I like them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There are a lot of people do different stuff today, but I still like Technique 1200s to DJ on. They're fun.
Yeah, a little bit different than the feel these days when it switched over to digital with the Serato and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You can still do it with the 1200s,
I do both. Yeah,
right?
I still use Serato with 1200s, yeah.
Yeah, so you can still bridge both
Oh
worlds.
yeah. That makes it dope.
That's a beautiful thing. So who was the first person that you could say that you were around that actually matched the love of music for you? Was it the homie you keep bringing up?
Yeah,
He
my
was the
friend
first
Marcellus.
person.
Yeah, we was just always just together, man. We just it was like my best friend growing up. So we just everything we did go-karts together, we did mini bikes together, we did lowrider bikes together. We used to bondo bikes. We used to do like all kinds of stuff. Like it was just like, you know, when I see kids today, I just trip out on them because they don't take advantage of so much time you have. When we were kids, man, we used to get up at 8 in the morning and we would go till 10 p.m. It'd be like an all day.
Nonstop.
Was just all kinds of stuff going on. It wasn't like we just did one thing. It was like, we're going to play some ball right here. We're going to go do the bikes over here. We're going to lowrider bike over here and work on the bondo, get the go-kart. Then, I mean, we
Go
just
watch a fight.
Oh, yeah, bro. We
all
just,
kinds of shit.
Yeah, we're going to hit some blocks, get the radio, because that's our thing.
Yeah.
Radio and batteries. Oh, get the radio. There's some girls on da-da-da block. Oh, jump on, double ride. Boom. We just be like, boom.
That's dope.
You know what I mean? It was just such a
Vibe.
It was such a vibe back then, man. Just to have your music on the top of a handlebars and just riding, that just felt like you wasn't a lowrider, dog. It felt like that, like to us. We thought we was the shit just as kids, just dipping down your street and we bumping like a motherfucker, just don't, you know. So that was the vibe in Linwood. It was real live back then, man.
That's amazing.
Good times, man.
So on the East Coast, they were birthing and they were learning their style of hip hop and engineering what they needed to on their side. And they had the original DJs and the legendaries, right? On the West Coast, we had the Tony G's, we had the Julio G's, we had the people that were engineering, and as we're learning deeper that you were engineering in a whole different way to learn how to cut and bring a new sound and a new style to the streets, because you were DJing in the streets and backyard parties before you ever hit the radio.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's even more influential in those days, because what people were learning right there off of what you were doing was taking that and becoming artists and becoming producers and all that, and they were being inspired by you.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people don't realize the legendary foundation that you're part of and what you've created.
For sure.
Out here in a lot of the East Coast gets a lot of the love of the founders, and they get the documentaries and all the love and shit. We need to give the flowers to the real ones out here.
We don't document West Coast
It's not.
like that. They don't like to. I don't know. They just don't really document us like that. They don't really go back to the history. I just noticed, like on the West Coast, people are more concerned about the East Coast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For
They don't
sure.
really understand. Like, you got your own history here. But before people like myself, I always have to salute the people that were before me that inspired me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
One was Tony G. Actually, he's very inspirational in my life. Listening to him on the radio, but I got to give it up to Uncle Jam's Army.
Yes, sir.
Uncle Jam's Army was critical. You know what I mean? And very very instrumental on the West Coast hip hop, world class wrecking crew.
NWA.
NWA, them guys too. But the early guys, Egyptian Lover, Bobcat. You know what I mean? Roger Clayton, that whole crew. You know what I mean?
Wow.
You got to give them their flowers, because
I
they're
didn't even know that.
Yeah, they're before us. LA Dream Team. You know what I mean? That was the early West Coast. Like sound coming out at that time. You know what I mean? Like, coming out. Ice-T also original from the beginning. Kid Frost from the beginning too. A lot of people think that Kid Frost started with La Raza, but I know him before that.
Wow.
He had established hip hop himself in hip hop before that. Before La Raza, he already had dropped 2 other records.
Wow.
A record called Rough Cut and a record called Terminator. And so I remember seeing him on Whittier Boulevard. He was very inspirational too, because he was like one of the first Hispanics, if not the first Hispanic I ever seen jump on a mic and rap.
That's it.
Good.
Hell yeah.
Like really dope. And I
held
was
his
like,
own.
damn. Oh yeah. Frost was always dope since back then. It was like he was great to watch. And then his whole crew, because he had a crew of people that were dancers and everything. So it was like a show. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So he's one of the originals also. We always got to give him his flowers for what he done also. But later when we came, basically the 1580 K-Day Mix Masters, I think we more revolutionized it too. You know, we come out of that school with these guys, but we were our own group, the Mix Masters, which was Tony G, Joe Cooley, M Walk, Jammin' Gemini, myself, Julio G, then later on Battle Cat, DJ Ralph M, DJ Aladdin, Trey Ski, rest in peace, Romeo, and Hen G. I mean, there's guys that were in the Mix Masters, you know what I mean? But we had a moment where it was just like the 5 of us, where we were just really, really killing at that time of hip hop, you know what I mean, on the radio. Man. So that's in the 80s, you know what I mean? So I'm people know me for Westside Radio in the 90s, but I started as a youngster, 17 years old, in the 80s on 1580 K-Day, which that's where Eazy E and them came, and Public Enemy and De La and Big Daddy Kane and LL and the list goes on, Kool Mo D and Low Profile, Rodney on Joe Cooley,
Wow.
Dream Team, all that stuff came out of that one AM radio station.
Hip hop royalty.
In the 80s, yeah. So like I said, yeah, I'm old school for sure. You know what I mean? I'm one of the beginning people in the beginning of that, but I always do salute the guys that were before me in that. Like I always say, Uncle Jams, Roger Clayton, you know what I mean? Wrecking Crew, Dream Team, those guys like that, you know what I mean? Egyptian Lover, Bobcat, big fans of them.
That's beautiful, bro.
Yeah.
I was just chopping it with Henji the other day.
Yeah.
He's still plugged up with Ice-T and all them cats.
Yeah,
and-
legendary, man.
Yeah, we're
Syndicate.
talking about bringing Ice-T over here, man. That would be a
That'd be
legendary
dope.
thing. Yeah, man.
He's got a lot
Cross-culture
of knowledge, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And also Henji has a lot to do with the Latin side too. Like
Yeah.
a lot of Latin records that got brought to the light from the early days, you know. So I want to speak on the moment that you got to get to K-Day and how you transitioned from backyard parties to the AM radio. How did that even happen?
Well, Tony was the one that discovered me, I would say. He was the one that seen me DJ, and he said, I want to put you into the Mix Masters. But when I was coming up, I didn't, I had listened. There was a tryout for the Mix Masters while I was still in high school, but I just didn't have the courage enough to go for it. Like, I didn't think I could do it. Like, man, I want to try out. Like, but I was like, man, I don't know if you could hang. Because, it was just that, it was the level of the bar was set pretty high, And so I didn't end up doing that. But before I got out of high school, this is in my senior year, because I remember listening to the commercials about the tryout. In my senior year of high school, coincidentally, when I used to break dance, I was young, my mom would give me a ride to go to contests. So I won a few contests, breakdancing. I was actually really good. I was very well known at the time. Out from my area, I would really go battle people. That's how I met Cypress Hill. I met them actually battling them.
Wow.
That's in high school.
That's hard.
Yeah. So my mom's would take me to these contests, but the guy that did the first 2 contests that I won, he was beginning in his promoting career at that time, and so he was the one that told me when I won the first one. He said, "Come to this other dance. There's another contest." Later on, some years later, this guy, he's doing a show called the High Energy Show on 1580 K-Day, which was all disco. It was all up-tempo disco, but they would do it like Saturday nights after the clubs would let out. It was called the High Energy Show. So he was the one that told me, hey, you want to go to 1580 K-Day? You guys want to roll me? Because I knew his little brother. And I'm like, let me ask my mom's. It was my senior year, so she really wanted me to graduate. So I wasn't trying to mess around. I was like, man, I told my mom's, I promise I'll go to school tomorrow. I want to just go just because it's 1580 K-Day was such, you know what I mean? And then that's where I met Tony. He took me that first night, and he introduced me to Tony G, which I looked up to. I was like, I never met him. You know, back then there was no pictures. You didn't know what people looked like.
Yeah.
He was walking around for like 20 minutes. I didn't know this guy was, because he didn't look like a DJ.
Yeah.
He was muscular, big buff dude. And I was like, he must be a security or something over here. So he was Tony G. And I was like, oh shit, this is Tony G, man. So that's how we originally met. And we actually did a little battle in the beginning when I first met him, but he got off on me heavy, you know what I mean? But it was cool. It was. He told me, come back next week, man. Let's do it again. And so that's how we became friends. And then a few months later, he was at a party. I ran into him because I was DJing for somebody, and he says, man, I want to make you a mix master. But I was like, man, but how? Like, I thought I got to try out, you know what I mean? But he made it happen. He's like, look, I want this guy to be in the group. And other guys all listened to Tony anyway, so they were like, okay, if you say, you know, boom. I became one of the mix masters September of 1986, right out of high school. I just been out of high school since June. So from June to September, it was like, boom. It was just like, damn, I just became a hood celebrity. Damn. Back then, because, you know, you on the radio, like,
was everything.
DJing. Like, damn, I used to see you at backyard parties. You on the radio at Saturday nights and Tuesday afternoons at the traffic jam, and you know, I was just kind of all over DJing, all over 1580 K-Day, so people would hear me a lot. So that was a fun time, and I learned that from Tony because he was the one that pulled me to the side and he said, look, I want you to mix. I don't want you to cut that much. I want you to cut here and there, have a moment of it, but the rest of the time, I want you to focus on what your music that you're playing. I want you to focus on mixing. I want you to focus on getting in and out of records. Don't take too long on certain records. Get out of it, and then, you know, let certain ones play because they're this type of record. But this other one right here, just play a verse and then get out. That stuff I learned from him early, and that when I got on 92.3 The Beat later on my radio stuff, a lot of that I put into the science of what I was doing was what I learned from him then, which was how to get in and out of certain records. Certain ones, let them play. That in certain ones, you could flip it and do something really. You can make the record even doper by playing one verse of it if you do it in between certain songs, and that's what he taught me. I learned that really from Tony. So I was a student, you know what I mean? I just stuck to Tony. Whatever Tony did, I was there next to him, just absorbing everything that he would say, because he to me to this day, he's the best DJ I've ever seen DJ. Wow. All the way around, from scratching to DJing a party. Like, I seen that guy DJ parties where I was like just blown away. Just like, damn, how did this guy go from that to like the 4 different genres of music in a matter of like 15 minutes, and all just on point. Like, I would have never thought of mixing those 2 records together. He was great at that. That guy's ear is incredible when it comes to music. So I'm basically a student of Tony G. I always will say that.
Man, shout out to Tony G.
Yeah.
I felt so honored when he followed me, and when he started like showing support and actually tapping in and commenting and like showing love on my posts. Man, I literally showed my family, like, you guys don't even understand the legendary status that this dude is.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, people.
And he's very supportive though. He's always been like that with artists and with people. He's just like that. He's just a very supportive person of people. He supports people that he sees doing certain stuff, even whatever level they're at. He'll still support it. Like, he knows they'll get better, or, you know, he's always been like that. Especially with me and anybody I've seen around me. He's always, if he could teach you something, he'll teach you something on a computer. He don't hog the information. He's like, oh, you know how to do that? Oh, I got you, bro. Look, just do it like this, man. Why you waste your time doing that? You just do it this way, bro. Man, and so many people are like, oh, I didn't know that, Tony. Like, I wasted my money. I don't waste your money on that. Do it this way, bro. Look, boom, boom. And, you know, he don't have to give up that information, but he always has been that kind of person. So I got number love for Tony G, man.
That speaks on his confidence of his craft. I mean,
For sure.
He don't have no fear. Like
None,
anybody
bro.
could have this game,
No,
run with it.
he doesn't have
and
a
I'm not
problem.
worried about it
Not
because I
even
can
at all.
still smash on
Yeah,
what
he
I
got
do.
it. He ain't tripping, bro.
That's love.
He ain't tripping. He's just always been like that. Yeah, for
That's
sure.
a real boss right there, man. Shout out Tony G, man. Legendary for the coast and for our culture, straight up. So little did you know, you say that you had the self-realization that you turned into the hood celebrity overnight, but little did you know that you had your pulse and your crew had the pulse on the finger of the West Coast of the heartbeat of the West Coast, because what you guys in actuality were doing was giving opportunity to the hottest artists that you guys were making the hottest artists by giving them the platform, pumping up their music, speaking highly about it. Everybody was listening to you guys to hear what's the next hot shit, right?
Yep.
So now what happened in actuality over time was people start trying to make music to emulate what you guys would like. What would Julio G play on his radio show? Now people are going to studios, cutting records to what you're playing on the radio. That's power, brother.
Yeah, it is.
That's a lot of power.
And we were like, okay, so you got to like understand, like we were the first that did that type of radio anywhere in the country.
Wow.
Because when you see East Coast, yeah, they had some hip hop on East Coast radio, but it was on East Coast. It was just their music. We were the ones that started to play all music. We created that. Like New York only played New York. Let's get it straight. Like in the 80s, that's all they played. You know what I mean? And there wasn't like everybody was playing hip hop either. We were playing it 24/7. It was like the whole station 24 hours a day. I mean, you heard some R&B records too, but it was a lot of rap. You know what I mean? It was a lot of hip hop. But that came from us. You know what I mean? You heard from 2 Live Crew to Kool Mo D to Rodney O and Joe Cooley to like just we would take it all the way across the board. You know what I mean? And then when it came to the West Coast, there was no like major labels. Nobody was signing major labels on the West Coast. If you ever look back in the history of hip hop and you go back, King T was independent. Eazy-E was really independent when he started. He wasn't with Macola. Even Macola wasn't even a major label. That was just a distribution company. Yeah. And then Priority later wasn't even a major label either. That was just a kind of a major in a way, but they weren't a major label like that. You know what I mean? So, Rodney O and Joe Cooley was independent. The Dream Team was independent. Egyptian Lover was independent. So everybody. So we as DJs from LA, even though we were playing like LL Cool J, Kool Mo D, and they were on Jive, Def Jam, all the East Coast DJ rappers, they were on major labels. So, but we as the mix masters, we put the West Coast in it. Like we didn't let that. We made Rodney O happen in between Kool Mo D. Even though Kool Mo D was on Jive Records and Rodney O was on Egyptian Empire, we made it sound like he was like popping just as much as Kool Mo D. You know what I mean? So that's another thing that a lot of people don't understand that we did in the 80s, which is we blew up the West Coast basically ourselves independently. Because like, think about that today. Imagine if Power 106 today would just only be playing independent Chicano rappers, Hispanic. Think about it. Like, it's like, oh, you just what? They would, you know what I mean? That's why I say when we were doing that, that was very innovative at the time.
Yeah.
Like, that was like, who does that? You know what I mean? Nobody who would have took a risk on Rodney O, who would have took a risk on NWA, who would have took a risk on all these artists, King T and CMW, and all that was independent. You know what I mean? But we got it off somehow to make it seem like they were just as big as the East Coast dudes. You know what I mean? So, and they later on, everybody, it worked out for everybody later on. But at the time of the 80s, all the West Coast artists pretty much were independent.
And not only that, but then they had the on the East Coast, they're making foreign records. And over here, we're making Cop Killers, Fuck the Police. I mean, it's
Colors.
a whole different colors. It's a whole different fucking energy. So
Yeah.
this was a lot more controversial music.
Yeah.
It was not as friendly to push mainstream. So
Right.
you guys had a chip stacked against you.
Yeah,
so to
yeah,
say,
for
you
sure.
know?
But I mean, we still found the records. You know what I mean? It was just finding the right records. Breeze had a big record on K-Day called LA Posse. That was big record. Dub C, Low Profile, when they came, Pay Your Dues.
That shit was hard.
Big record. You know what I mean? Everlasting Bass, huge record at the time. Huge.
so
That wouldn't
hard.
go away, that record. That record was so big. And then you had even Eazy. Eazy came with radio, and Eazy does it. So it wasn't that bad. They knew how to get it in there, but But yeah, it was the rest of it was very street.
personas,
Yeah,
yeah.
there was very street. So they were trying to find ways to make those types of records. Life is too short and things like that came later. But it was a little bit more of an uphill battle because back then people just didn't respect the West Coast rap because it was about MCing and lyrics and that whole New York thing because it started from there. So everybody didn't understand what we were doing on the West Coast. It wasn't lyrical. It wasn't about that. It was more of an attitude and more of a slang. You know what I mean? More of it was, like I said, it wasn't so broken down, dynamic, phoretical, bithibetical, man, alphabetical. It wasn't that. It was check this out, homie. Came down the block, more simple, simplified to get to you, you know what I mean? So that's why I mean it wasn't so coded like that, you know what I mean? So people didn't really understand that about the West Coast. I did, because I come from the community, so it was different for me. And that's why Westside Radio later, I was able to do what I did with Westside Radio because of that reason, because I understood the music. Everybody else really didn't, you know what I mean? So, but that came from the 80s, you know what I mean? We knew we were kind of doing Westside Radio back then. We had to put our people on, you know what I mean? So those are good times though. Those are good times. I'll never forget those times. We didn't really make a lot of money doing it. We was just hood stars. We made money in the streets.
Yeah.
Doing clubs and parties and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it was love, man.
Usually your first opportunities, I could speak for myself, usually they're the platform to springboard to the next level. They're not usually, they look like they're the ones, like I even chop it up with Daniel Rodriguez from the UFC and T-City, Brian Ortega, and they're like, bro, I was fighting in the UFC and couldn't even afford a pair of J's. Like, people think some of these things are like a lot more shine than it takes. Like, that's the opportunity. You get in, now kick ass, now smash 4, 5, 6, 7 fights in a row until you become a champion, until you could get that. So,
for sure.
Not a lot of people just think like as soon as you get in the movie, you're a millionaire. As soon as you're on the radio, it's like it's over, your life changed.
No.
It don't work like that.
Nah, not at all.
So K-Day was obviously a legendary radio station.
Yeah.
When I was starting to come up as a kid, I remember hearing about it, but I didn't get to experience it.
Yeah.
What I got to experience was the 92.3s, the beats, the Power 106s. But I always heard about it. You heard Ice Cube and like these cats rapping about it, or like people paying homage to it, like if it was still like legendary or something that. So my ears were up. Like, what is this K-Day shit, right? So eventually, you went from AM to FM, and then K-Day came back eventually. What was the transition going from AM to FM? How was that impacting your life, and how did that change everything as far as what you were doing?
Well, I mean, in the 80s, when we were doing the AM thing, we were all just young kids, you know what I mean? We didn't really... A lot of people, like, look at hip-hop today, and they look back and think, like back then, we knew it was going to be what it is today. We didn't know that. We were just... All right, there's a party on Saturday. They want us to DJ. Okay, so it's just another party on Saturday. We weren't thinking like, hey, man, 10 years from now, oh, this is going to be this. Oh, 20 years from now? Oh, man. At all. Nobody was. We were all just, we doing the next thing that said somebody wants to do, because a lot of people didn't want to do hip-hop. They didn't want to, hip-hop wasn't in Hollywood. You hear kids today, they're lucky they get to go DJ in Hollywood. I had a DJ in the hood. Because the Hollywood didn't play rap. They weren't, none of that. Florentine Gardens, none of that. They didn't, out of here with that. You wanted to see hip-hop, you had to go to South Central. You had to go to, if you watched the NWA movie, you had to go to Skateland USA. Those were our dances. In that movie, that's our dance that they're at. You know what I mean? So then you had to go to World on Wheels, or you had to go to Casa Camino Real, wherever we would kind of go in LA. That's what we were doing just to bring the hip hop, because like I said, it wasn't like what people think today is also crossed over in that way. It was very small in that way, you know what I mean? But it had a lot of people that loved it, so we were lucky to be able to do these dances. So it was a little bit different, the 80s and going into the 90s. Well, when I left that station, when we all left that station, we all went into producing records. And then we kind of had gotten off the radio thing because we all kind of got a bad taste in our mouth about how we left. So it wasn't like we were... before they got the Baker Boys for Power 106, they had called me. And I told them no. I was like, I'm cool, man. But I like the Baker Boys. I already knew them. That came up through us. I was like, you should talk to them. You know what I mean? Like, I'm cool. I'm producing records and I'm touring from time to time. I don't care about the radio. I didn't even care about it when they called me. I wasn't even excited. Oh man, Power 106. I was like, yeah, whatever. Not to diss them. I'm not saying that they're nothing. I'm just saying in the sense
Where your mind state was.
Yeah, mind state. We weren't really in the radio. We trying to produce records now, man. I'm cool.
You're in the
I'm cool on
studio
radio.
now.
Yeah, I'm in the studio now, man. I ain't tripping, right? So that's kind of what happened. We kind of just got out of that after that. And then it wasn't until Eazy-E came, and then he was like, I want to do this Ruthless radio show. Y'all need to come back on the radio.
Wow.
And so that's what kind of got us. And he kind of pushed us because we weren't even like, oh, yeah, Eazy, we want to be back on the radio. He was like, oh, I don't know about this, bro. We were like that. Eazy like, hell no, come on, man. We going to call the Ruthless radio show. We going to do this. And woo. So that's how we got back on in the 90s. But it was kind of like we had to kind of reinvent ourselves again and kind of prove ourselves again because we had been gone from the radio for a minute. And even though these stations that came later were really influenced by us, because 1580K, they basically, when you say the beat or Power 106, that's what it was influenced by that. Whether they know that or not, you know, when the Baker Boys went to Power 106, they came through 1580K Day because they used to come watch us. That's how I know them. We brought them to LA. So they came through Tony G and myself. A lot of people don't know that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, people don't know that the Baker Boys came through us. That's why you see them produced on the first Kid Frost album. There's some songs produced by the Baker Boys because we were all hanging together.
I see.
And that's how they would come from Bakersfield. And that, you know, when they got on the radio, they did their thing. Cool. You know what I mean? So, you know, it wasn't until Eazy pushed us and said, come on, let's go do this. You know what I mean? And then we came back. But like I said, we had to kind of reinvent ourselves and just, you know, boom. This is it's FM. And now the Baker Boys are hot. You know, Theo's doing this thing. It's like there's competition a little bit out here. This ain't the same 1580K Day. It was just us doing hip hop.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was a little more competitive. So I had to readjust and just figure it out, you know. But yeah, that's how I ended up getting into the 90s, and to 92.3 The Beat came later. That was through Eazy-E.
You started with the Ruthless Radio.
Ruthless Radio Show, yeah.
That was legendary.
Yeah.
Saturday nights, 6 to 9 p.m. if I remember correctly.
6 to 9, yeah, 6 to 9.
Yeah, I grew up on that shit. That was my favorite. Like I was telling my people, like I was so excited to have you here because I was like, people look forward to WrestleMania. My brother was into baseball.
Yeah.
All my people. I'm a musician, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I was fucking into that. Ruthless Radio shit was my
Yeah.
shit. I didn't care if I didn't get to hear it. I was a little ass boy. If
Yeah.
I didn't get to hear, I'd probably cry on the weekends.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
straight
yeah.
up. That's how much I love that shit.
Eazy-E was ahead of his time, man. He just he did that because he wanted to buy a radio station in Arizona, and he wanted to understand the inner workings of 92.3 The Beat.
Yeah.
So he wanted to do a radio show because you got to remember he was the first rapper that ever done that. Start a radio show. Everybody else copied that after that, but that was him. He's the first one that jumped on the radio, which he didn't know how to do radio. He just would barely even talk. I kind of put the show together for him. You know, I would produce the show basically.
For sure.
But he would know how to talk here and there. Well, cool. We got through it. But for him, he wanted to buy a station in Arizona and call it KEZE. And that was his thing. He was going to move us all to Arizona eventually, and we was going to do it from there. And but he wanted to understand how the inner workings worked at 92.3. So he was like, okay, I'm going to do a radio show. And he wanted to break Bone Thugs and Harmony. So he wanted his own radio show because he would play like Bone Thugs and Harmony every hour of the 3 hours every Saturday. And nobody really understood that, but he broke Thuggish Ruggish Bone from the Ruthless Radio Show.
Straight up.
So Eazy was a very smart guy. I learned a lot from him, you know, at the time and when I got older after he passed. When you get older, you get wiser and you look back on moves and think, damn, what a move that dude did. Didn't think about it like that when I was younger. Now that I'm older, I realize that was genius.
Gems.
Oh, gems, bro. That guy he knew how to promote and he knew how to maximize the situation. You know what I mean? So he was, like I said, learning the game, breaking bone, and he's on the radio in LA. Death Row's popping, so is he. You know, so he was a smart guy, man. Rest in peace to Eazy. But he was the one that talked us, like I said, put us back on the radio, and he didn't last. It didn't last long because we did the show in July of '94, 4th of July weekend of '94. We did that show, Ruthless Radio, and he stopped before he went to the hospital. Was in January of '95.
Wow.
So it was about 6-7 months that we had that show. You know what I mean? So, but at the time of 6-7 months, we did a lot of impact.
Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
Because honestly, I felt like the way I remember it, I mean, you're a kid. Your perception of time is so
Yeah.
different. But it just felt like it was my whole childhood. You know what I mean? Like I just remember like after cartoons, that's all I gave a fuck about. you
Yeah,
know?
and it was summertime, and you know
Yeah.
the sun was out late. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it was like Saturday nights is a perfect time, 6 to 9, and then we were doing. Yella would do the old funk, and then Eazy would have his little piece, and then I would mix, and so we had a little bit of everything going on at one time in 3 hours, and then the wake up show would come on after us. So it was a nice lineup, you know what I mean, for that Saturday night. So that worked very well for them at 92.3 The Beat.
And to highlight this properly, because people wouldn't know this unless you actually listen to the shit. I never took it as just Eazy's show. It was Ruthless Radio, but it was Eazy and Julio G. Like
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the way it was presented.
Yeah.
I don't ever remember it just
Because I did a lot of
Eazy.
stuff on that. Like I said, I produced a lot of the show behind the scenes. You know what I mean?
Straight up. Like
All
it
the
was
drops.
your guys' show.
Yeah,
like
we
it was
did all
like 50-50. Like that's how it was presented to
Yeah,
the world.
yeah. That's how we used to record it too. It was
Yeah.
just he would come to the house and we would do the radio drops. We do the commercials together. Because he didn't know radio.
Yeah.
He was just like, man, look, what we got to do? I said, look, man, we got to do this right here. This 10 minutes, we going to do this right here. When we go to commercials, we going to come back. You going to talk, play this song. So I would pace it out for him. So he would just show up and sit down and be like, all right, just give me the list of what I got to do. And that was kind of it, you know what I mean? So he trusted us, you know what I mean? Because he knew that we knew the radio game. And I knew music, and Tony knew, we knew music. So, he trusted us. So that's how the Ruthless Radio Show got going.
Wow,
With
that's,
Eazy-E, man,
that
yeah.
speaks on the level of his mind state and how ahead he was. His competition at the time were under another label, dissing him and going at him. He's like, okay, these cats could diss me. I'm gonna just focus on building a whole brand to the point where these cats are trying to get on the radio. I'm gonna own the station.
Yeah, I'm gonna own the station. He was on the level.
Wow.
Yeah,
That
he was
shit's
working
next
on like just some of the stuff that he was working on. When I would hang out with Eazy, we jump in the car together. He used to love to hang out with me. Like he hung out with Tony at the studio because we would work together in the studio. But he would hang with me in the studio, but then he would kick it out of the studio with me. Like he want to call me, pick me up. Come on, man, what you doing? Nothing. We just at the house. I'm gonna come by and pick you up. Let's go. You would never know what you're gonna do with the guy because he was just doing so much. So at the time he passed away, he was working on the video game, which later people seen Grand Theft Auto and all that. You know what I mean? That was basically what he was working on back then.
Damn.
So he was ahead of his time. Like, I remember thinking like, video game, man, what's this dude talking about? Like, Eazy would say stuff like that you make you think like, what is this guy talking about? Like, you gonna do what? Like, and then, 5-10 years later, something came out like that and it was successful. And I thought to myself, damn, Eazy was
Visionary.
I was stupid. I'm the dummy. I didn't see the vision. So, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, when you're younger, you don't know that till you get older and you look back and think, damn, man, I was sitting around a genius, man. This guy was so ahead of his time. So, and it was really genius, the idea he had for that video game. You know what I mean? So it had lowriders and it ended up at the Lowrider Super Show. And I mean, the guy's mind was like that. So he had that going on. And this is around the same time. He picks me up one day and he goes, we're going to El Segundo. I'm going to meet with these people. I want you to roll with me. I was like, all right, cool. We show up at this place and they have all this technology, man, that I never seen. This is in 94. And so we go in his room and he goes, look at this TV. And that was the first time I seen a TV that was that wide. Like, like what we see was normal to us today.
Yeah.
And that was in 94. I seen like a huge one. And I was like, damn, Eazy, what the fuck? I ain't never seen nothing like this. Wow. So at that time, he was working on a Ruthless sound system for cars. So he was doing the speakers, the radio, and he was taking me because he wanted me and Tony to do a turntable and mixer series with these people. Now that sounds crazy back then, but now when you look at it today, I was like, damn, this guy was ahead of his time. Killing, not just the music. I want to sell you what you listen to the music on, and I want to make the bass speaker so made for the bottom end.
Yeah.
That was his whole thing. I needed to make a certain sound. It needs to be the bottom end because the beat. He was already all into the car. So yeah, Eazy-E, rest in peace, man. He was a lot of fun to be around, and I learned a lot from him, man. Just the way he thought. You know what I mean? I really wish he would have stayed around, man, because I think he would have just been, I think he just would have been on a whole nother level, man, like something that people would have never even understood. He was just ahead of his time for sure.
He was a problem to the industry.
Yeah,
he definitely people like that are feared by people in positions of power because they're fearless. And they're gonna do whatever it takes to get there, and it doesn't have to be like most people think, strong armed or on a gang related state. It's just the mind state, like you're saying. They're so their vision is so dangerous to the next man's, and then that's the man that doesn't. They're not like the Tony G's where they have the confidence. They're like, fuck, hide everything, put everything away. This man's gonna take our secrets and run with this shit and kill us. So that I think that's the type of people that. That was averagely out at that time. So for him to be able to make it that far in that type of a climate, I think is fucking amazing.
Eazy-E used to have this thing that I really like learned that from him and kind of understood the way he thought. He was a kind of person that he wanted to talk to people. You know how artists like I gotta step out in the crowd and I gotta get to the van and the crowd and security pack.
The Hollywood side.
That wasn't easy. Eazy was like, where the people at? Open that door. Hey, what's up?
Hell yeah.
What's happening? They were like, easy. One by one. Hold on. Hold on. And he sit there and he'd be, what's your name? Well. But you know what he would do? He would give everybody his business card.
That's hard.
With his number on it. And he had a pager. And his pager would go off. I mean, it was 1 month. He told me that the pager company was gonna cut him off, and he was arguing with them because he had got like 80,000 or 100,000 pages in a month.
Damn.
In a month.
That's crazy.
And they were like, "Yo, dude, like you killed."
Eazy was going viral on the pages.
He was, cause and then he would go to 92.3 The Beat, and he would use their phone and start calling numbers back. Hello, it's Eric. Will call me back, and that's just the way he was. He told me one day. We were at a California pizza kitchen. It was myself, Eazy, and my daughter. And we was eating. She was like 5 years old. And the girls came, oh, Eazy-E. He like, here goes my car. We got the Ruthless Radio Show. Do you know who this is right here? This is Julio G. And so when the girls left, he like, hey, man, you ain't got your cards on you? I'm like, nah, I ain't got a couple of them. Man, you got to have your cards on you, man. You got to tell people who you are, man. Like, that was his... I had to understand that. He's like, wait a minute. I thought celebrities, y'all supposed to not do that. I thought, no, not for Eazy. Eazy was the opposite of that. He wanted to talk. Never, ever seen him turn down an autograph. Never. Not, I don't care if some person was across the street. He'd be like, hold on. Walk all the way over there.
People person.
All the way, man. I never seen an artist like him, like, just be so like that. That's why they loved him everywhere he went. He used to love the Hispanics. He used to tell me all the time, damn, that man, the Hispanics, man, they love me. He used to tell me back then, they love me. Man, they buy my music. So he always had this thing about, that's why he wanted to sign Frost. That's what happened when we went to the when we started the Ruthless Radio Show. The radio station situation was after he gave us a deal for Kid Frost and got us out of the Virgin deal that we were stuck in for a minute. He went and got Jerry Heller. Jerry called him, got us out of the deal, gave us another $50,000 to record a couple more songs, put some money in our pocket, put some money in Frost's pocket, then said, hey, let's go do a radio show. That's the kind of person he was. He put some dollars in our pocket before he even said, oh, hey, by the way, I'm going to give you some more money. Come do this radio show with me.
That's hard.
Yeah, he saved us, man. I appreciate it. We wouldn't have had that album, Smile Now, Die Later, if Eazy wouldn't have got us out that deal. That album had been sitting at Virgin for like a year and a half. We couldn't do nothing with it. We were just in a thing with them. And he was the one that came through and took care of it like in about a week, 2 weeks, man. I'll get you out the deal. Don't even worry about it. We got you. And so that I love Eric for that. And then later on, he asked us will we produce Brownside. And like I said, once again, he was with the Hispanic thing. And then we were going to do Nino Brown. And we had deals for everybody. So he was really into he never said it was Chicano to him. It was just... He just liked the Mexicans. He just wanted to make the music. Like he knew that they were there.
He understood LA.
He understood LA. They need their voice. You know what I mean? What I gotta do? I got the label. Let's do this. What's popping? Tony G, Julio G. Who better than to do what you got? Bring them down. Let's do it.
Hell yeah.
So that was his thing. So yeah, he was ahead of his time, the guy, man.
Yeah, he understood the climate of the city, and I think that if someone would have understood early like him and put it on, like look what Dre did with Eminem, I really do believe that was a missing piece of the culture, but it was meant to be that way because it birthed the whole culture called Chicano rap, and everybody got out the mud their own way, and it created a whole new sound, a whole thing of independent artists that didn't have to depend on labels or a cosign. So it actually was a blessing in disguise. But I could say one thing, and I'm speaking on experience growing up in any neighborhood that I ever grew up in was 1,000% dominated by homies, you know? And I remember very clearly, even as a youngster, like when that whole Death Row Ruthless beef was cracking, like the climate in any low I was in any circle smoking and drinking with the homies, anything was like, yeah, Snoop and Drake cool. Like they were popping all over MTV and everything, but the word was like, nah, we fuck with Eazy.
Yeah,
fuck that.
It was like
this
that
is
back
the G
then.
shit right
it
here.
It was like that.
It is what it was, you know?
Yeah, but he knew how to play off both ends of it, man. That's why, like I said, the guy was, he was just really smart at knowing how to maximize the situation. He knew how to maximize that beef. It wasn't as deep as people may have thought sometimes, but between him and Dre, but he made it like that. Like he liked that. That was part of the whole thing. It was part of what it is. And so that's something that I learned from that guy, and to understand the way he thought. He was ahead of his time. I think he kind of was the blueprint of how to even put street music out and how to go about it and how to play off of it and how to take advantage of a beef. You know what I'm saying? Because he's a record label owner. He's a businessman.
That's his job.
That's his job. That's his job. So that's why he was ahead of his time, man, for sure.
Hell yeah. And speaking of that Ruthless Radio, and the reason why we laughed when you're saying that they premiered Bone and broke them, I was just speaking to Lazy the other day, like yesterday, as a matter of fact. And we're chopping it up because we got a new single and we're going to shoot a video, and he's asking me to shoot a video for his new album. That's the homie. Like, anything they need from me, I'm going to do it twice. So I literally text him back. He's like, I need a video from you and your team. I'm like, bro, we got you twice. Like, I got you with shoot me 2 singles. We're going to start the treatment, right? Yeah. But I was telling the homies, like, you don't understand just, like, how it feels like my life's changed. Like, I'm sitting here being able to chop it up with Julio G and be like, hey, what day you going to pull up? Lazy Bone, just chop it up with me. Like, hey, I need a video. And, yeah, let's shoot this video, and I'm going to pull up to the podcast. Like, to me, that's life-changing, and that's a dream come true for me because I was the little boy listening to all this. And we laughed because I just told my family last night, like, I remember, like, yesterday, Ruthless Radio, and I remember being the kid that was kind of street famous in my little era just because I fucking recorded the song when nobody else had it. So I remember catching the night that Eazy was promoting, like, I got this new group. They're from Cleveland. We got them. We got the exclusive. I remember the introduction. Still, to this day, it echoes in my head because it was so big and how it was pumped up and how he talked it up. And then he went to a commercial and then came back. It was like he was teasing us. And then he played that shit. And it was Thuggish, Ruggish Bone. And it was so hypnotic. And it was so different. And it was so, like, just fucking, as a kid, I just remember playing that tape over and over and over and over that night, and I couldn't wait to get in my headphones and take it on the bus on my Walkman and just show all my friends, like, listen to shit, listen, and everybody. And I remember, like, going to now I'm talking 5th grade. Yeah. Now I'm talking about 7th, 8th, 9th grade. Now I'm a ward in the state, in and out of jail, all this. But every time I run into a homie in a hood party, anything, like, hey, fool, I remember when you were showing us Bone before anybody knew that shit, before they were on MTV. So I had that
early.
Still. Yes, I run into people to this day from my childhood and be like, fool, I knew you were going to be a rapper. I remember when you showed me Bone before anybody knew who the fuck they were. And you knew all the lyrics, you know?
That's crazy. Yeah,
that's
because
we all go back on.
Because, you know, at the time, I mean, the only people that were playing it was Eazy-E. Yeah. So let me tell you something crazy about that. Yeah. A crazy story about that, Thuggish Ruggish Bone. Eazy, when he came to our studio in El Monte, he played us Bone. And that was the night that I actually played him Smile Now, Die Later from Kid Frost. And that's what made him want to sign it, right? So I played it for him that night. And he says, hey, I want y'all to check out this group I got. So he plays, because we had nice speakers in the studio. He's like, plays Thuggish Ruggish Bone. And I knew it was different because I had never heard nobody double time style. But I knew what it was, what they were doing, I knew. But I just had never heard something that slow, too. So it was so, because another thing, it's normal to people when you're listening to it today. But at the time it came out, them records were slow.
The beats were slow as fuck.
In hip-hop.
Yeah.
They weren't doing slow beats like that back then. Mm-hmm. Not that slow. Not no 70s, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it from the beginning. I was like, it's all right. That's what you got? So when the radio show started, Eazy would play it, and we'd be like, oh, he gonna play that again.
That shit again.
I swear to God. See, I can tell you the truth. I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm gonna give it a buck with you.
That's right.
So to trip this out. So So Eazy was like, man, you don't even know what you're talking about, Julio G. You'll see. So when the EP came out, he used to call me. This is a true story. This motherfucker would call me. Like, I forgot if it was whatever day it was when they counted the numbers, he would call me that day. He called me. Hey, what's up, man? I was like, yeah, what's up? Hey, man, bound that 250,000. They had the EP. And I'm like, oh, yeah, for real? Damn, that's good, dog. Shit, you know, so maybe because your name is on it. No, I used to fuck with Eazy. Like, we would clown on each other. Yeah. So I'm like fucking with him. I'm like, yeah, well, maybe it's because you put your picture on the cover, man. You know what I mean? So, all right, motherfucker. So the next week, he kissed me. Hey, what's up, man? What's going on, E? It's like, shit, man, nothing. Yeah, shit. Bone just did 375,000 this week. What? Damn, bruh. So the next time he calls me, it's going gold. So I'm like, all right, motherfucker, sorry about that, man. I didn't hear the fucking song, man. My bad, bro. Jesus Christ. So the day that I was telling you that we went to that California Pizza Kitchen, we were in the car, in his car, myself, my daughter, and him. And Power 106 is playing Thuggish Ruggish Bone while we're in the car. And we're driving to Arcadia Mall. And I say, hey, Eazy, man. All bullshit aside, man. How'd you hear that? He goes, man, I knew I had heard nothing like it. I knew it was different when I heard it. I just knew it was it. Because nobody had ever done that shit. And that's why that guy was ahead of his time. Because if you think about it, I mean, this is after Dr. Dre left. It ain't like he needed Dr. Dre. That had nothing to do with Dr. Dre. That record ended up selling like 10 million albums, that first full album, the East 1999 Eternal album. You know what I mean? So he knew what he had. It's just, and I remember when he told me the album was done, this is after the EP, and he told me, this album is going to be a classic. And then once again, I'm clowning. I'm like, all right, Eric, a classic? Come on, man. You just got a little EP off now. So we would fuck with him. Like, all right, you going to see. And then he ended up passing away. And then that record came out and boom. And then Crossroads came out and they took the record to that album to another whole level. So he knew that they were there was something about them because they didn't sound like anybody. And he told me that same day, he told me, I'd rather take a risk doing something different than copying everybody else. I don't want to do what other people do. And he told me cocaine. He said, I took a risk with cocaine. It might not have gotten all the way off, but I'd rather do something different because cocaine was different. You know, that I want to do different things. I don't want to do what these other little labels be doing, copying the next dude, whoever's hot. I ain't trying to do that. So that's why I say the guy was ahead of his time, man. And he was right about Bone. You know, he wouldn't let me live it down for sure.
Man, Bone was like a hurricane in the streets.
Oh,
I remember having that moment where I recorded on Ruthless Radio. The EP was creeping on a come up.
Yep.
And on the back, if you flipped it over, on the white, the whole writing was like in red, but on the white bottom, it had Eazy, his name, executive produced by.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
So he was claiming that shit.
Yeah.
And then I remember like a year later, maybe not a year later, maybe like 8 months later, I was with my brother in Pasadena. He had a crib in Pasadena or an apartment. And I was being babysat because my mom was in between like boyfriends and shit. And I was staying the weekend, and we went out to Old Town Pasadena, and there was a record store. And I didn't even know the shit came out because back then there's no social media. I'm a kid. We don't have cable TV. And I was like, oh shit, that's that group. And I just begged my brother, can I please have that tape? It was East 1999.
Oh man.
Man, I remember they went out to the club or something with his girlfriend. I played that shit, and he came back in the door like 3, 4 in the morning. He goes, what the fuck? You're still awake? I go, I must have heard that shit like 20 times by then. I must have known, or like the half the album already.
Man, that album really got me. That whole, like I said in the beginning, that didn't catch me, but then eventually they did. You know what I mean? But that album, man, he was so right when he told me that. I still to this day, I'll listen to that record and still enjoy it like that because it was just, and the Art of War, the double CD. I love that one too. But
that shit's hard.
Yeah, that Eazy was ahead of his time, man. He knew he had something with Bone, man. That they changed the way hip hop goes. It slowed hip hop down and double timed it, and everybody that burst so many styles at this point. You know what I mean? That came from Eazy-E.
I mean, the biggest selling groups, arguably of the last 30 years, is
Yeah.
Bone Thugs and Migos.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Migos wouldn't
It's
not
that
have
style.
their flow
Yeah,
if it wasn't
for
for
sure.
their
For
birth. You know
sure,
what I'm
man,
saying?
for sure.
Hell yeah, man! Shout out to everybody that was part of that whole era, man. It's a
Great times.
a beautiful golden moment of hip hop that could never be replaced, and it's just nothing the same no more. But I'm glad that I lived it. Hell yeah, as a fan too. Um, in those times and everything that you were experiencing at that time, what was your actual most memorable studio session that you were in? That you were like, man, this is the shit, or that you look back now?
I've
and
had a
you say,
few. I've had a few. I mean, I remember one time. I remember being in the studio with Rick James, rest in peace, when we did Mary Jane for the Smile Now Die Later album, Kid Frost's album. We actually had him come in and do the singing part.
damn.
Yeah, and I was mind blown by that because my first concert that I went to as a kid when I was 13 was Rick James headlining a Zap. It wasn't even Roger Troutman back then. It was just Zap and the Gap Band. So to be a kid and then years later I'm in the studio with the dude. I mean, that was something I'll never forget. And then I remember being in the studio also with Roger Troutman, doing some
The drop.
the drop for the Ruthless
Yeah,
Radio
I remember
show.
that shit.
Yeah, the drop for the Ruthless
You
Radio
said your
show.
name in it, dog.
Yeah, he said all of our, and I'll tell you something crazy about it. He did it in one take. That guy, Roger Troutman. I knew Roger Troutman already because of Mellow Man Ace. When I was touring with him, we would do shows together with him. He had jumped on our tour bus one day, or I might have jumped on his, I'm sorry, and I brought the SP1200 and I explained to him how sampling works. Because he didn't know he didn't understood what sampling was, but he wanted to see me sample his stuff. Like, show me how they sampling it, man. Like, so I showed him on a drum machine. He was just blown away by that. So I knew him already from that. And we had a mutual friend too. So we kind of knew Roger already. But Eazy, he was doing a summer jam and Roger was playing, and he got Roger to come to the studio. And I remember he called me and he was like, I need you to come down here, man. I got Roger. I paid Roger to do a song. And that was I'm trying to find it actually. Let me see if I can get it. Let's see.
Oh shit, you got the exclusives.
Westside Radio. Today. Ruthless Radio. It's my favorite show, yeah.
He did this in one take.
It's Ruthless Radio Show. Stay true to the streets. Stay true. Come on. Stand true. Stand true. Still. Stay true to the streets. Yeah. The freak of the week. Tony G. And Jesse. They be funky. Julio. Easy. Ruthless Radio, don't you know? Say it's time for the Ruthless Radio show. Don't you know you better get down? Come on, everybody, now you it's big stand true to the streets every night. Yeah. 90.3
Yeah, that was Roger. He did that in one take. That all right there was in one take.
Damn.
And Eazy just wrote this on a piece of paper. He wrote our names down, and that's why he's kind of like, yeah, he's just kind of just doing it. And I'll never forget that because I was standing right there. But the crazy part about it was when he was done, because he told Tony to loop up the more bounce. Tony G, loop that up, man, and give me a boom. And he just did it real quick. But when he got off there, he grabbed the guitar and just started getting off on the guitar. And he was like, to me, I think he's a more incredible guitar player. Wow. Oh, he blew my mind, man, Roger, that day. The way he grabbed that guitar. Yeah, it was amazing to be. Those two moments stand out a lot. And I have a lot of moments like with Kid Frost. We done some stuff, and back in the AOT days, Slow Pain, rest in peace. We used to have a lot of fun when we would be in the studio together. So I have a lot of good fun memories of us just fucking around, making music, and just staying up gambling and back to the beat, go back to gambling. We used to do so much crazy shit. So I have great times, great studio memories at the G Spot No Money, man. So. But yeah, Roger Troutman and Zapp, those are big, and doing it with Eazy was big too.
That's crazy, bro. And to have Zapp say your name in a song.
Yeah, that was crazy, bro.
I think that was a moment where you were like, man, my life is definitely on the right trajectory, right? Musically,
man.
right?
I mean, we didn't know. I mean, we were just doing our thing. It was part of our get down about doing these intros for the radio, and to separate ourselves and put our production ear into things. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what separated us and separated me later. With these radio drops. A lot of people remember the one with the Mexicans was real popular. The one that Dub C did for Westside Radio was super popular. All the Snoop Dogg intros he did for me were super popular.
Legendary.
Yeah, so it was like, it was kind of when I got on the radio game that way, I just started to implement my producing side too in my ear into what we were doing to shape out my sound. You know what I mean? What people call Julio G or whatever. It's a sound when you're on the radio. If you want to be yourself, you have to kind of create a sound. It's like a beat. You got to make your own style of beat. Why do they listen to you? Because you don't sound like him, and you don't sound like him, and you don't do what he does, and you don't do what he does. You do this thing right here. You know what I mean? And for me, it was Westside Radio. I think that separated me from a lot of people too. So.
Hell yeah, you had exclusives, you had drops. I remember you'd be like, I just left the studio with so-and-so. It's like you had that personal touch that no other DJs had at that time.
And I was putting people on that, just at the time, just weren't getting put on. You know what I mean? And especially in the 90s after Eazy passed away. Because after Eazy passed away, I wasn't trying to do the radio. I thought it was over. I was just going to go back to making beats. But they were the ones that convinced me, the radio station, to stay because they really wanted to work with me. And then from there, that's when I said, okay, cool, I'm going to become Julio G, what people know as the one that talks. Because before I was just producing and DJing. I would talk here and there, but I wasn't trying to do that. So it was somebody at the radio station that pushed me to do it. You know what I mean? So, but when I ended up doing it, I ended up falling in love with it in that way. And then I just kind of took the wheel. I said, okay, well, I got to talk and produce and drop the beat and break the record and all that. So at the time, I was giving people chances on the radio that weren't getting chances. So my concept was always I'm going to do what they're not doing. And so they're not playing Cam. Okay, well, I'm playing Cam. You don't play above the law? Well, I'll play above the law. You don't play MC8? Well, I'll play MC8. You don't play Psycho Realm? I'll play Psycho Realm. You know what I mean? So that was the way I did it. You know what I mean? And because I come from 1580K, and we were always supporting our West Coast people, you know what I mean? So
breaking records.
And I don't think that people really understood in the radio side of it that was going to be such an impact, because it started to hurt people. Because at first they didn't think about it like that, but when you start playing people's records in the streets, in the hood, their people start supporting you, and then they tell other people, you know what I mean? And Westside Radio Friday night, you might hear Cam, and you might hear, Whoop-de-Womp, you might hear this, DJ Quick, and stuff that you just weren't hearing on the radio. No disrespect to Power 106, but they weren't really playing West Coast like that. Not the gutter, the grimier West Coast. They heard some songs you had on there.
There were more techno and hip hop,
more
house
techno,
at one
in the
point.
band.
I remember that.
Yeah, in the 90s, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They played some hip hop though, you know what I mean? But there was, Coolio. They would do stuff that was the big records, basically. You know what I mean?
I just remember them playing Nina Santiago
Yeah.
and like Show Me Your Love, and
Yeah.
and they would mix shit in. But I just remember them being. I think they even used to brand themselves like a party station.
Yeah, they were
right?
a party station. Yeah, they were a party station at
But
one
the beat
time.
was like the street, the urban shit.
It's the more
hood
black
shit.
station.
Yeah,
The more
for
black
sure,
station. You know what I mean?
100%.
So that's why we were able to push it a little bit more. And then Westside Radio, like I said, it was just me banging the West Coast and giving these artists the light, you know what I mean, that they weren't getting nowhere else, you know what I mean? So Friday nights, everybody was tuned into Westside Radio. It was just whatever I played, that was it. If I played it, it became something, because everybody was tuned in, and then it would get on another station over here and another station over there, because these people were listening too. It's because some of these artists would be like, damn, I don't know how I end up getting on 7 stations. Oh yeah? Yeah, well, it all starts because they all do listen to me, and then
They emulate the
right.
playlist.
If
Yeah.
it's hot in L.A.,
You're playing the hot shit.
If it's hot in L.A., it's gotta be hot.
Yep.
You know, and then little by little, they just started accepting more of the West Coast, and then you started hearing more of it get on. You know what I mean?
hard.
Because of that reason, and me pushing and playing our music. Because you're playing 2 hours, and then I had the 9 o'clock bomb during the week, so I'm playing the West Coast in the 9 o'clock bomb too. It ain't just on Friday nights. I'm scattering some East and some West, so I'm giving you love during the week. But Friday night is just a warm up to Friday night, all West Coast. And then I had to balance it out because I couldn't go. There was a night that some Bloods called me, and I was probably 20 minutes into the show, and I used to answer the phone. Julio G, what's up? This da-da-da from da-da-da, Blood. Man, you played 4 Crip records in a row, Blood. We out here, man. Come on, Blood. And I'm like, man, my bad. I didn't think about that. So I had to now, when I programmed it, I used to have to think about it. Like, okay, don't play a bunch of Crips in a row. I gotta play this one and then
sure
quick.
there's some Quick
and
and
then,
Mac 10 in that
a
motherfucker.
Mossberg, and
Yeah.
I gotta balance it out because that's how serious it was, and that's when I knew it was, it was real. I mean, they weren't hating on me; they were just trying to tell me, "Come on, homie, like you killing us, man. We out here.
Yeah,
oh,
yeah.
my bad, bro, because they could hear them out there. They're all getting their groove on this Friday night. So I knew what I was dealing with. I had to balance it out and figure out how to maneuver through to keep everybody happy, and then just keep the West Coast banging on Friday nights. That was the whole deal.
Well, shit, man. Friday night is one of the most legendary nights of my life, homie. I almost fell on my knees and fucking cried, homie. And I must share it to my fans and share it to the world, a moment that changed my life. And like I said, I was a little boy listening to the Ruthless Radio Show. Legendary Westside radio fan since I was a kid. So to get into the rap game and to be able to get on high power and create records, and I never thought I'd be able to make records for the radio. They would tell me straight out, Mr. Criminal, you'll never get on the radio, right? Latino, never get on the radio. It's just what it is. To be able to hear my song come out on Westside Radio on the 9 o'clock bomb, and not only that, brother, you gave me a motherfucking intro that was like, I'll show my mama, I'll show my grandma, I'll show anybody with pride. Like, do you understand, homie? You stood there and you gave me a platform, and I really feel at that moment you gave me a confidence and you changed my life musically, straight up. Because the way that you said everybody to that moment was telling me, with a name like Mr. Criminal, you'll never make it.
Yeah.
Even we cut the record with Busy Bone, and it was like people were saying, like, yeah, this record might do good, but with this dude on it, it might only go so far, right? Yeah. But when we dropped it, and it started with the love you showed, like you said, the rest of the country started spreading. Next, they started picking it up in El Paso, Salt Lake City, everywhere, Denver, and it just flooded all the way to Minnesota, to the Midwest, the whole shit, right? And it started with that 9 o'clock bomb, and I'll never forget the pride that I had. And we stopped, and they're like, I remember Capone calling me like, hey, I think they're going to play your shit tonight on Julio G shit. We've been trying to get the song played and all this, and he shows love to his people, so there's no guarantee. He ain't nobody said for sure, but just tune in the next few nights. So we tuned in, like, I think it was like 2 weeks in a row. And that night, bro, you gave that legendary intro. You were like, we've been waiting for Busy to come back. We've been waiting for Bone Thugs, a sound from my homeboy. You were like, this is my personal homie. Yeah. And then you're like, on top of that, we got someone from the city. We got a Latino. We got the culture represented together. Yeah. I'll never forget the words. And you said, L.A. stand up, Latinos stand up. Yeah. And you said, here it is, Mr. Criminal featuring Busy Bone. We ride. Boom! You played it with so much pride, homie. Yeah. I damn near on my life, homie, right hand to the sky, damn near fell on the floor and cried, homie.
That's it, because I used to have to sell record. I used to have to sell the record. You know what I mean? So there was something to that. And I'm gonna kind of clear it up for you a little bit. Yeah. I did that on 93.5 K-Day. Yeah. And that was at that time. And I actually was on in the afternoon, so I actually played it at a prime time. I played it at 5 o'clock.
Was it? So I was wrong. My memory's wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. Shit. We just got cleared up.
I remember that.
Okay.
I remember. I'll never forget that. Okay. Because that's not something I was supposed to do. Because that record is not what they would consider a 5 o'clock record, because it's brand new, right? But at the time, I was doing like, at 5 o'clock, I was doing like a Westside Radio, all West Coast.
That's why.
That's what it was.
That's why I confused.
So I was still calling. I was calling it California Love at 5 o'clock. Wow. So that's what I was doing. So you came in there, and that's when I brought it in, and first of all, Busy Bone's a friend of mine too, but it had to do with Capone also, and I was liking his movement. You know what I mean? I was like, I gotta support. Then I seen you come on, and I felt the same way. I was like, damn, it's gonna hurt him, this name, Mr. Criminal, but I like the record. So we're just gonna roll with it because I knew he had the streets already buzzing with his label and everything that he was doing. So you just need that little push. Same thing I did for Master P at his time. Cause if you ever see, there's Master P interviews where he gives me my my respect about it. Like I put him on at the time, you know what I mean, on the radio. Same thing kind of went how I thought about you guys, you know what I mean? It's like they just need a little bit of a push to get over that part, you know what I mean? And it was good to see some Latinos coming because that's what I've been looking for at the time. I'm like, we need some more like Hispanics to come with the right records. And so you came at the right time. I was like, perfect. I want to rock this dude because this is a perfect record. You know what I mean? Boom, let's hit it. And that's why I had to sell it that way. But that's the key thing. I didn't just play people's records and, oh yeah, I played your song. Okay, cool. I broke it. I used to break your record like I would keep playing it. So if I was with it, I kept playing it. I didn't play it that one time. So I want people to understand that there's a difference when a DJ, he gets on tonight and he breaks a record. Yeah, world premiere, boom, psh, and then tomorrow is over, right? And then there's a difference with a guy like me that says, hey, brand new Mr. Criminal, boom. And then the next day, oh man, you heard it yesterday, I'm gonna play it again today, boom. And then, maybe a day or two pass, I come back, here goes Mr. Criminal again. So by the time a third, fourth time you heard it in between other records, it's starting to get familiar to you. Mm-hmm. That's breaking a record to me. That's what I'm known for more than just world premiering at one time. I had it first. See, that's the difference. People don't get confused with that. They don't understand the guy that plays it one time and then the guy that continuously plays it for weeks to come to get you in, like, oh, that record's popping. You know what I mean? Like, I've been hearing it all week. Because that's how programming works. It's how many times you hear that record. So that's why I done with yours, you know what I mean? So yes, that's what's funny. We talked about that because I was the first one to play Mr. Criminal in L.A. You know what I mean? Straight up, and
I appreciate that. You changed my life
for sure, man. I'm glad we're doing this. It's all love. It all, you show love to somebody else. It all goes. You pay it forward. You know what I'm saying? So.
And I remember the conversations when I started doing the next records, the Nate Dogg's and the Twisters and the Fat Joes. I remember clearly the conversations opening up much easier because it's like, oh yeah, he already got that record ready played, and then went to Nate Dogg, and it's like, okay, now he has 2 records on the radio, and then it went to the third, and it's like, okay, this motherfucker's starting to stack his BDS. Then it becomes a respectable thing, and it's not such a issue anymore. Now it's just like cut a good record and that's it. No, there's no more excuses or anything. And I thank you for helping make that possible.
Yeah, for sure.
And on top of that, a lot of people don't know you were one of, obviously not the first, but Tony G and the other ones that come before, but you're one of the very first people that represented Latinos on the radio that I can remember like that period.
No, for sure.
Especially for my time, because I remember very clearly you sometimes would speak in Spanish. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you would change up the lingo. You would give it up to the homies in the hoods, and you're just a real one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And there wasn't really much of that. I think a lot of radio was commercial, and you could feel it. But when you guys came on, it felt like real. It felt authentic. It felt organic. You know what I'm saying?
I'm very blessed because the people have supported me. You know what I mean? I always wanted to represent us in the level of to be respected in the game. I don't want it for free. I'm gonna get up and get busy. I want you to respect me and be like, hey man, I seen just a friend of mine came over the other day because I started working on some scratch stuff again because I had messed up my shoulder. So and he hadn't been over for a while, but when he sat there, he was like, damn, G, you be killing it, man. And he's one of my black friends, you know what I mean? So it made me feel good in a way because he's in his head, he knows the real shit. And he's like, damn, man, you be killing it, man. The way you be scratching, god damn, bro. That's just automatic. That's my whole thing always. Like I said, I don't want it for free. I don't want it, because I'm Latino, y'all gotta love me. And nah, I want you to be like, this a bad motherfucker. You know what I mean? Period. And he's Hispanic.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So I don't want it for free, bro. So that's always been my whole game thing where I wanted Hispanics and Latinos to always know in hip hop, in West Coast hip hop, if anybody ever says any kind of shit out of pocket, you always could say, oh, hold up, bro. Don't forget about Julio G, because he put it the fuck down.
Straight up.
For us. And then my name is Julio G. When I started in the 80s, there was no Hispanics except Tony G and one or two other people. So it wasn't like it was popular to be Hispanic. You know what I mean? So, but I still did that. I didn't want to be DJ J Scratch or something like that. Like, I didn't want to hide from it. I was like, nah, I'm going to be Julio G.
Embrace it.
So you know, when you hear the name, you know what you're dealing with. You know what I mean? I'm Hispanic, you know what I mean? But it feels good to be like at this age of my life and look back, because when I did it just for the love of hip hop and to compete. And like I said, and to make my people, you know, feel proud about, you know, that they got somebody in the game that represents for them. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I started 92.3 and flipping all that in Spanish in the 90s when nobody had done that. You know what I mean? I brought that whole vibe to the radio in that way. And then I was doing it at a black radio station, mind you. So it was a little bit crazy what I was doing at the time, but I still was able to kind of pull it through. And then the fans came through and the Hispanics came through and supported me. So it took that radio station to #1, and they were happy as fuck about that. You know what I mean? So it's, yeah, I'm very blessed, man. I'm very thankful to my community and all the Hispanics that, you know, Latinos that support what I do. You know what I mean? And I do it for you too. So just know that.
I mean, shit, to get a call on a song like Vato from Snoop Dogg, and to have you be the introduction to it from one song with Nate Dogg Legendary to the next one like that. I mean, I think that shit speaks volumes.
Yeah, blue carpet treatment. I'm very thankful to Snoop for that, because he's always been very supportive too. And a story, I'll give you a story about that song. One day I went to the studio because I always smoke with Snoop.
Yeah.
And I had some weed. I forgot why I ended up at the studio, but I was there. He pulls me to the side, and we go into this other room, and he says, "Hey, man, I got this song. I want you to hear, man." But he didn't have the song. He just raps it to me, and I could just right there in front of me. Vato, you won't believe who they are. You know, he does the whole thing, right? Okay, cool. All right, well, let me know. You know, that's all I knew about it. Once again, 93.5 Katie, I'm on in the afternoon. It was 5 o'clock. California Love again, right? He sends me the record. Hey, you know, we're going to world premiere this motherfucker, man. This is, you know, boom. Okay, cool. I got you. I played the record. And for some reason, I didn't listen to the record. I was at the moment. And I'm like, oh, it's 5 something. I got to go. Play it. Boom. Played it. So I listened to maybe like 10 seconds of it, but threw it on there. But when I heard it on the big speakers, it's because it's a clean version. There was something in the beginning that was taken out, and it sounded a little weird to me. I'm like, wait a minute, is he talking shit? I didn't know what to make of it, and as it goes along, it just, I don't know. And the first time I heard it, I just didn't sound, I don't know, man. It started sounding crazy. But then the hook comes in, and you hear it was Pharrell. See, people don't remember that. Before Be Real. Mm-hmm. It was Pharrell, and he was doing Vato, would it believe that? But it sounded like he was kind of like
almost clowning.
Speedy Gonzalez in it, kind of, right? Yeah. So as I'm hearing that, I'm starting to cringe, and I have it on the speakers loud in the room. I'm like, oh, this is 510, 515. I'm like, oh my God, wait a minute. What song is? I'm thinking Snoop would make something talking shit. Wow, man, what is going on here? So then the hook comes in again. I'm like, oh, man. So the song ends, and, man, I move on to the next thing. And I start taking some calls, and then people start calling up. And they're like, yo, Julio G, what the fuck was that you just played? I'm like, man, you know what? I don't know, man. I got to listen to this shit again because something about it, because of the clean edits, it makes it, I don't know what it was. I got to listen to it. Something sounded worse about it. So, man, but I take about 5 calls of this, 6 calls, and they all don't sound good. So now I'm feeling bad, like, oh, I done fucked up now. My people about to turn on me. So I called Snoop 911. I never do that. He called me right back. What's up, G? Snoop, we got a problem. What? They don't like the song, man. They think you talking shit. And he's like, what? Nah, man, I'm not talking shit. I'm saying that the homie seen me getting jammed up by these 2 motherfuckers, and that's what homie's saying. I'm like, it don't sound like that. And with Pharrell in the hook, bro, that shit just sounds like you clowning. You can't do it. just stop. I just played it once. Like, just, he's like, and you know what's crazy? Like, Snoop was so into the song. It was like he was so into it when he was talking to me about it that he felt like I could hear it on the phone. Oh, man.
Disappointed.
Yeah. He's like, oh, man, G. He's like, man, what could I do? I'm like, look, you need to get somebody else in the hook. You got to get Pharrell off that hook, bro. Because that just don't, it just, and at first I was going to tell him to do Little Rob. But at the time I was like, I don't know if Little Rob is big enough for this situation. I said, he needs like somebody more like on his level. Oh man, call Be Real, Snoop. And he's like, cuz I'm gonna call Be Real. And that's how Be Real got involved in that song.
You saved the record.
He saved the record. I was just talking to Be Real the other day about this. We was coming back from Arizona in his car, and we were going back on that story, and it was true. Actually, Be Real saved that record for Snoop because, and it worked out because it was a cool video, and it actually worked itself out, which was cool in the way it worked out. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of glad it happened that way. But that was the story behind that people never knew. That I haven't talked about that before in an interview about that song and how that went. But that happened in the 5 o'clock hour at 93.5 K Day. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
hard.
yeah, for sure. But I ended up later on going into the studio and doing 3 skits on the blue carpet treatment for Snoop. And I got a skit on, a talking part on Pay the Cost to Be the Boss, and then Corrupt's albums, and there were a whole bunch of stuff that I've done with those guys. So much love to those guys too. I appreciate them because that always. It's always nice to be on people's records and people get to hear that. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. Well, I'll tell you from a first-hand experience, I was the producer of High Power back then. And our label was homies from every single hood coming from everywhere in L.A. pulling up to my studio. My studio was the G-spot, so to say.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it was the headquarters for recording. And I remember the day that shit dropped. We just like this. We had like speakers, like pool table, fish tank, all in my studio. And I remember that shit was like premiering on MTV or something. And the homies were like talking shit, you know. They weren't feeling it. It wasn't until like the song got explained more and like there was interviews coming out.
Yeah.
And then it kind of got lightened up. But I remember the climate at that time was like, yeah, fuck, what the fuck was Snoop thinking? He's dissing us, like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Like,
but I'm saying it's until he explained the song, then you hear the lyrics and go, oh, because that's what he told me. He goes, oh, nah, man, I'm saying that the Vato's watching them bang on me. So I'm like, Snoop, but that's not what it sounds like, though, brother. Yeah, but that's what went down with that song, man. But
I remember the whole studio session cut, and I had like probably like 7, 8 homies in there from like different hoods, and that was all it was talking about for the next hour. Like, yeah, this is bullshit, homie. What the fuck?
Yeah.
We need to try to get a hold of somebody, and you know what it is.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Motherfuckers always have their opinion, but
Yeah.
I'm just glad.
Yeah,
that,
but Snoop is
that
all
it
love,
worked.
man. Snoop is not. It wasn't
Everybody
about
knows
that.
that about
yeah,
Snoop.
yeah, for sure. It was just that's what happened with that song, man. But
You know,
but it
people
worked
get
out.
in their feelings when they hear shit like that.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
It's natural, and then after a while, it's like, okay, now we.
Yeah,
get
it wasn't
you know what
about
I'm
that.
saying?
Yeah,
it's
for
not
sure.
about that.
For sure.
So, as far as speaking of the radio and having like the whole climate of that Snoop. Now we're talking to Snoop, and then you were around Eazy and that. Obviously, there was a moment where they didn't get along.
Mm-hmm.
There was two different camps that had a lot of beef. There was a legendary show. I'm not sure if it was Ruthless Radio or Street Science, but I know that it was definitely on the radio, and it was Eazy taking calls from the whole Death Row camp. And this shit got crazy.
That was on Street Science.
That was on Street Science,
Yeah,
right?
that was on Her in the Morning, and he got into it with Daz.
Yeah, Daz,
Yeah, he
and
got
Miss
into it.
Chalet was screaming in the back, and
Yeah.
Lazy Bone got on, and everybody was just talking. It was just crazy, right? Corrupt got on.
Yeah, yeah.
So what was the climate of that? How did that even get through on the radio? How did the radio allow that?
Because, well, she used to do a show called Street Science in the mornings, right? So he went on there, but she would have different topics. So whatever, she might have been, I think she was doing something in the music business. And somehow they had the hotline number, and that's how they kind of all went down, you know what I mean? But, you know, that was 92.3 The Beat. That was the radio, you know what I mean? I think it just happened at that moment. But it's audio recorded, so people got to hear it back later on. You know what I mean? But yeah, there was some going on. You know what I mean? There was like the beef was the beef. You know what I mean? It was the beef, and it was competitive. But you know, it is what it is. That's what Eazy was talking about. You know what I mean? Eazy was doing Ruthless, and that's what he was sticking to Ruthless. So that's what it was about.
Yeah,
you know.
and it was like Eazy versus all of them.
Eazy versus pretty much versus all of them. You know what I mean? But like I said, I just think at the moment, Eazy loved it though.
Yeah, you could kind of hear
He
it.
loved it. He loved it. Trust me. I used to have conversations with him, and if you got to hear the way he would talk about things, like he liked that people thought he was 16. He liked those things. Like he liked those mysterious things that people said about. People at one time used to say he was a devil worshiper.
I remember that.
That he had a tattoo right here on his hand.
The skull and bones.
Yeah,
on
and
the
this,
covers.
and he had something on his chest, and blah blah blah. Right. So he loved that though.
He played off.
He loved it. He used to tell me, man, I love when they think I'm 16, man. That's what you gotta do, man. You gotta keep the mystery, man. You know. And then, you know, they think I love the devil and this and that. And then I knew that he wasn't like that. Like, I knew he talked about God and all that. So I knew, but he loved it. Like, he got a kick out of it. He really did. And that's why I say he was ahead of his time in that way. Like, he knew how to keep the mystery out there. Because he told me many times, they're not talking about you. You ain't nobody. Good or bad.
Straight up.
Good or bad.
He was
Gotta
always
take
talked
it.
about.
Yeah, he kept the conversation about himself going on and the mystery about himself. You know what I mean? But he was a real one though too. He was not scared of nobody. He was a real one. So, you know, he stood for his. You know what I mean? It was just Death Row versus Ruthless. You know, it was hip hop, L.A.
Yeah, hell yeah. And I know at one point he was like, as everybody's like in mansions and big old cribs, I know he was just like in the hood, like in Norwalk, right by the freeway, like still
He
driving
loved
the
that crib.
63, right?
He loved that crib, bro.
Yeah,
he would
wasn't
stay
hiding.
at that house more than any other crib. That small little Norwalk house that he had.
Yeah.
Not small, but it was like a 3-bedroom crib.
Yeah.
He loved that house because we were right down the street, down the 605 in El Monte. So he would go up and down the 605. But he loved that crib. Like, and then I used to tell him that he lived out of his car.
Yeah.
I used to see him just more in his car than anywhere else, man. Like he used to have so much clothes in the trunk of that car. He would just get dressed. I don't know, man. That guy just moved a different way, man. Like he didn't care about them. You'd think he'd be like chilling at the pool and just like, that wasn't easy. He was always working and always thinking and always moving. And he didn't even enjoy his big houses. He kind of, like I said, he bet the Norwalk house.
I got you.
Yeah, he was very
So you were
regular.
in Monte all the time in the 80s?
Yeah.
Do you remember a company back in the day, Taco Delight? It was like, I think they had 2 different restaurants right there.
No.
There was one on Klingerman, and I don't remember where the other one was.
Oh, really? No, I never
Well, yeah,
been
that was
to
a business. My father started that.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
I think it's still to this day, those buildings, and they just like renamed them. But yeah, my father started
Oh,
that shit
that's
back in the days.
cool.
I used to live in the Klingermans when I was a little, little baby, you know.
Wow.
So we moved to Whittier. So shit, man. I also want to talk about this. A lot of people don't know this. We clicked up at the Penthouse in Venice a few years back, and we were really, really getting on the level of trying to get some shit cracking. And you were also giving me another opportunity at that time. And you were going to bring back Westside Radio at that time on Dash.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know you were giving me an opportunity,
Yeah,
dog.
yeah.
You were about to give me a radio show. It was going to be called Latin Active Radio.
Yeah, Latin Active.
And it was going to be
It
Julio
may
G
still
and
happen.
Mr. Criminal.
It may still happen.
Yeah, it may
we
still
might
happen.
figure it
So
out.
this is a thing that got affected by the coronavirus.
Yeah,
It was
yeah, it
right
did.
before, and I remember Dash Radio was out in Hollywood, and they were redoing a new building.
Yeah.
And then everything just shut down. You were like, we got the contracts ready to go from the team, that whole shit. We ready to get our stations. Our whole shit, we're going to put it under the, you had your own channel. And man, I couldn't even believe it. I was having that
Yeah,
conversation. with you.
we're going to make it happen eventually.
Yeah.
We still got the idea there. The idea is still there,
It's
man.
still there. So yeah, we let the maybe cat out of the bag too early.
Yeah.
But it's all good. Now they know Mr. Criminal and Julio G connected in a real way.
Hell yeah.
This love for music is no joke.
Hell yeah.
Speaking about all this, what is your opinion on the way that the radio has transitioned? Obviously, you were from AM to FM to physical sales to digitals to streams. You've seen the ringtones phase come and go. To now, obviously, everything's streaming and digital and podcasting. What is your opinion on the change and where it's going now in the future?
I think radio is just, useful for certain things. I don't know if it's really for young music anymore. I think young people have access to music a lot more quicker than you can. In my era, you'd wait for me to play the record. You'd wait for me to world premiere it. You didn't have no other access to really get to it. You had to wait till Snoop gave it to me or somebody gave it to me. Okay, I'm going to world premiere it. You feel me? Today, you can get it like that. So there is no such thing as a world premiere anymore. You know what I mean? Because anybody can get the record. You can put your song up right now and it'll be on ready to go right now. You couldn't do that before. You know what I mean? Times have changed, so I don't think radio can keep up with what young people want to hear. Like in LA, like listening to the radio driving up here, I'm listening and I'm like, this is cool, bro. But I mean, we're in LA. It's like, this is Hispanics now, bro. It's like, you guys got to move on from this down south, gutter kind of music. That's cool and all that, but man, bro, there's a lot of Hispanics that are doing big in the streets right now, and you're not hearing that. And I think that's where they're missing out. They're not understanding the market anymore. That's why they're losing. Kids are moving on to other ways to listen to music. They don't got time to be waiting for you to play Mr. Criminal. They're going to listen to it when they want to listen to it. So that's why I think it's changed in that way when it comes to hip-hop. Now, if you listen to older songs, like myself, I want to listen to some older regular stuff. Yeah, those are older people. They're not into technology that deep, so they still want to listen to the radio. That's why when you look at the ratings of the radio in any city, the top ones are going to be the older stations, right? The old school this and the wave of that, and playing Mariah Carey and whoop-de-wop, that stuff. And then the hip-hop is way down here somewhere, when hip-hop used to be the top.
Always.
Right? But that's changed, you know what I mean? So it's just the way people are grabbing music has changed the way people digest music, you know what I'm saying? So, the kids that are popping really are not even on the radio, you know what I mean? At all. They're selling out shows, and I don't hear that kid Yeet like that, you know what I mean? He's selling out shows. He's like the hottest thing in the street, you know what I mean? Rest in peace to this little kid, man. I'll say little kid, but Money Sign Suede. Money Sign Suede, rest in peace. I mean, he was popping on my side of town. Like, the kids loved him, you know what I mean? I wasn't really hearing him like that. Maybe I don't hear the radio that much, so I can't say for sure, but not that I was feeling like they should be supporting the city. You know what I mean? That's why I say when Julio G was doing 92.3 The Beat, I was supporting the city. I was finding the artists and making them into, you know what I mean? They're not doing that no more. You know what I mean? They're not doing that. So that's what I think has changed in LA. And, the way you make music and put it out is just totally different now,
Yeah, and I think it also attributes to the fact that they lost the touch of having the real DJs there. Because the DJs, I'm going to keep it real, like most DJs didn't have that connection. They had to wait on the label to get the single work by the corporation and the machine. They couldn't have the luxury to just say, hey, I just pulled up from Snoop and just got this record. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I think they lost that. Not a lot of the new DJs have that love from artists, and then again, they're playing down south, and the shit that's popping down there, those cats don't give a fuck about these LA DJs. Just keeping their 1,000. They don't have these type of relationships. They can't just pull up to the A and be like, okay, I'm in the studio with these cats. So it's just a whole different machine, different mentality, different times. Everything.
I don't think the DJs today really have the freedom to do things like that anymore. That's what's kind of hurt them. So I kind of got to, kind of defend them a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not always their fault.
It's not their fault.
They're just there trying to get their name out there, but they're stuck into this like playlist of you can only play these songs. Like I said, I can't do radio unless you give me the freedom to do what I'm gonna play, because I have to go out there and dig out the streets.
Yeah.
and they're not gonna be out there like you think. You know what I mean? So that's why I say that's the difference in the radio today and in what's going on today in today's time with the hip hop. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah. What is your top 5 favorite artists of all time?
Whew, that's a hard one, man. 5. Snoop.
Is that 5 or 1?
No, I'm not in no particular order. I'm just gonna say 5.
Okay.
Snoop for sure. These are just my personal favorites. I look at it like this: if I had to go sit on an island for 5 years, and I had to take 5 catalogs, who would I take? Right. So for sure, Snoop.
Okay.
Snoop's catalog is incredible. 50. I'm gonna say Nas. Let me see. I'm gonna say Bone Thugs. I gotta have Bone Thugs, cause that whole style is just. Let me see who else. And number 5. Wow. Number 5. I might say Jay-Z. Well, nah, I take it back. I'm gonna say Ice Cube.
Hell yeah.
I'm gonna say Ice Cube.
I like that list.
Yeah, I'm gonna
I
say
could
Ice
fuck
Cube.
with that list for 5 years on any island.
I'm gonna say Ice Cube for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
I just love Snoop because he's one of my favorites because he just has such a wide range of catalog, the kind of records that he's made, that just nobody on the West Coast has been able to match. As much as I love Ice Cube, I don't just see Ice Cube making a sexual eruption.
Nah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Too rough.
only Snoop
Too
could
rude.
pull that off. Like, Snoop pulled that record off. That's always a record that always like separates him from a lot of people to be able to pull that record off. I remember being on tour and running into Snoop backstage in Chile, and that record had just came out for about a few days or a week, and I told him, Cross, we were, hey, what's up, man? And I told him, hey, man, I love that new record you put out. He said, you do? Because he used to always ask me about music, like what I thought about his music, or what should be the single, or do I think what I think, you know what I mean? And I go, hey, man, that's a huge record, bro. That's going to be a worldwide hit. And he's like, no, man, the label don't even like that song. They hate it. Oh, no, that's a smash, man. That's a smash. And I was right, because I just have an ear for certain things, you know what I mean? So that was just that record
was
is
the
out of
one.
here. Oh yeah, for sure.
Hell yeah.
And it was so different, you know what I mean? And you don't catch Snoop doing stuff like that. So that's why I like his catalog, because he has such, just diverse ways of making music. You know what I mean? Different ways. You know what I mean? Different styles.
Silky smooth flow, bro. No
Yeah.
one could get not even close to it.
Nah.
It's too
He's a
damn
musician.
smooth. Yeah, it's crazy.
He's a true musician, Snoop. He's more than a rapper to me. I listen to him as like a musician. He's a really good ear.
You can hear his influence in the soul records and all the shit that he grew up on, that his mom played in the house.
Yeah, man.
You could really hear that shit is in his soul, because he displays it in records all the time.
Yeah.
And then when he clicks with the homie Battle Cat, it's like over. Like,
Yeah,
them
for
fools
sure.
get together and they just kill shit. Man, I think the whole contribution of what you've done for the coast is amazing. I think that a lot of people don't even realize it. We're in a fast-paced world, and it's my duty to highlight legendary shit that happened in our culture.
I appreciate it,
And
man.
I gotta say, bro, half the motherfuckers that are out here that have legendary careers wouldn't have it if it weren't for people like you.
No, I appreciate it.
I want to thank you for playing my record. I want to thank you for playing all the records that you have throughout my life, because you shaped the soundtrack of my life, straight up, because I know for a fact the records that you were bringing to those stations, even the other station, the other shows on the same station, we're starting to play them after you would play them. I remember that shit clearly.
Yeah,
I remember,
for sure.
I remember that. So I thank you for your contribution.
No, I
to
appreciate
hip-hop.
you guys, man. I appreciate you guys just showing us love. You know what I mean? Because the people don't know the old school like that unless somebody kind of brings people out to say, hey, these are our OGs. You know what I mean? So it is a different era for us because we didn't have the internet growing up. You know what I mean? So it's like I appreciate it when people bring us on platforms and let us explain to people what the history is, especially of the West Coast. Because like I said, it's not documented. You know what I mean? You don't have a lot of documentation of the West Coast hip hop, and then anybody could just say anything. It's only a handful of us that were there in the beginning that could tell you the real. This is what it was, bro. Yeah. Because that's what happens too. Sometimes people just start going saying, "Nah, they wasn't really there, bro." There's only a handful of us that was there at the real beginning.
It's easy to say like, "Yeah, this was happening," because there ain't no records of it these days. And that's the motherfuckers that were there.
Sure.
Right?
You gotta have. There's only a handful of us. You know what I mean? So like I said, salute, man. I appreciate you inviting me, and I always like to talk hip hop. So
hell yeah,
thank you, man.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Do you remember the movie Selena?
I think so.
Do you remember that? Well, there's a famous scene. Let me explain to you. There's a famous scene in the movie, and it's like after she gets her big hit records. She's a Mexican girl in LA at the Beverly Center. She's here for the Grammys, and she's got millions of dollars. And she goes in the mall. She's trying to buy like in one of them bougie ass stores, and they looking at her up and down like, you ain't got the money. And she's trying to like get up out of there. And when she's trying to dip out because the lady's giving her shit, the whole crowd just rushes, Selena, and everyone's taking pictures and shit like that. Not so necessarily as far as the attention or anything like that, but do you have like a Selena moment where like you were somewhere and you were trying to buy something and someone doubted you and it's like, oh shit, they didn't realize who they were dealing with, Julio G in front of them?
You know what happened to me a lot? Or what happened to me back in the days? Sometimes nowadays, but not back in the days more when I was more active on the radio. Yeah. Somebody will be looking down and like writing something, and then they'll hear my voice and they'll be like, oh my God, are you Julio G? And I'd be like, yeah. But it's kind of, it's weird because I'm somewhat in the way of shy person too. I'm not always on. You know, I'm an only child, so sometimes I'm more like introvert. Like I'm not really as like people might think. So it'd be kind of weird sometimes. Some moments. That's why I think the weed helps me out, and especially at that time because it would help me kind of relax around people. Because sometimes I would get a little bit of anxiety because it's just like a little overwhelming sometimes. You know what I mean? Everybody's on you and they want to ask this and I got a record and needed it. What I mean? It's just a lot going on. And sometimes I'm like, damn, I just kind of want to be alone. Like, I don't know if I want to be in all this. And it's but you got to keep going because these are fans, you know what I mean? I always want to treat everybody the best that I can because I want them to always have a good experience. I met Julio G last night. He was hella cool because next time they hear you, they're your fans, man. They fuck with you, you know what I mean? So I always try to be as nice as I can, but it has an up and down moment sometimes, you know what I mean? So some moments it's like, it's like, damn, I'm in my bummiest ass clothes. This motherfucker just recognized me.
First time, you know.
Oh, that's happened
It's
to me
always
a lot
like
of times. Because sometimes I'll leave the house. I'm not thinking of this.
Yeah.
I'm in some bummy ass shit. And somebody, hey, yo, Julio G, let me get a picture with you, man. Oh, man. You know what I mean? So, but I do it, you know what I mean? But, it's kind of funny. I'll tell you the crazy ones that something crazy, man. I always trip out on people that tell me and they were locked up and they'll all tell me different stories about being locked up and how Westside Radio was like their nighttime or their kind of like mental break from this jailhouse thing.
Chaos.
Situation. Yeah, man. You know what I mean? I've never been to jail, so I just can imagine what that's about and how that little 2 hours, that could be such an escape. An escape.
For sure.
Man, I had people tell me like some crazy stories, man. They'd be like, yeah, you don't even understand. I was locked up, man, and you played this one song, man, and oh, man, it took me back to my neighborhood. And man, somebody was telling me when I was on 93.5 Katy that I was Terminal Island. He's like, man, when you would come on Sundays, that nobody would do nothing wrong because they didn't want them to take the radio. Yeah, so everybody was just shh.
Save that shit for after.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, dog. He said, you have no idea, man, how many times you calm things down. Because I'm like, oh, no, not today.
Yeah.
No, bro, we got to listen to it. And he said it was the Mexicans and the blacks. Because they both want to listen. So you couldn't, don't fuck this up, man. Don't fuck the radio time up. Right. We want to, so those are always cool stories, you know what I mean? Those ones that people like, it touched them somehow, some way when they were behind bars or whatever, you know what I mean, at tough times. So, I appreciate those stories too.
Do we get a Julio G family version? Is there like at home, could we imagine you like calling the family to the table? We got the 9 o'clock dinner bomb and you're premiering fucking The Lobster. We're going to premiere this fucking food. And do you ever catch yourself with the radio voice at home or not?
No, not really. No, not really. You know what I mean? It's just, I just think people, I think sometimes people, because the Grand Theft Auto too, you know what I mean? Because I did the Radio Los Santos on Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. A lot of people recognize my voice from that, and so people grew up on that game. That's like a big game, you know what I mean? So just somebody the other day was like, yo, man, I knew you sounded familiar. I knew it, man. And man, Radio Los Santos. And I was like, oh, yeah, Radio Los Santos.
And you were still banging some dope shit on there.
Yo, that was so hard, man. Thank you to DJ Pooh for that.
Yeah, DJ Pooh's a real one too, man.
Wonderful guy,
Ran into him over there at Exhibit Studio, and he was like telling me some dope shit about some ideas they had for a movie. And I'm like, man, I'm sitting here chopping up with DJ Pooh about some movie shit.
He's so smart, that guy,
What kind
man.
of shit is this,
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a dope dude, man. Shout out to Exhibit. I was just chopping up with them earlier today. I think it's important for us to build these black and brown relationships organically and real and keep them going. Like we're gonna be bringing some of our brothers on the show and highlight like you brought up Cam earlier.
Yeah.
He's one of my main allies in this, and that's introduced me to a lot of people, and I get a lot of love and respect because he opened doors. Like we need more of those type of people that open doors.
I'm glad you brought this up because I actually want to say a little something. I hope I'm not going too long, man.
You're good, bro. We're straight.
I want to kind of bring something up since you said this.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people confuse black and brown, and they think that means that we all clicked up and
No. You're good. It ain't nothing like that. It's real out there in some neighborhoods. Like I got you, cool. in like in Long Beach. It's not a secret in
Sorry
what
about that.
cities.
No, so
it's
so
real,
ba-
you know.
you know, I think people what they think that means that everybody needs to be all like that. It's
Kumbaya.
not. No, it's not like
It's
that.
not real like that.
The black and brown thing we started in the '90s, and maybe it started before that, but in the '90s, speaking on Cam and the Nation of Islam, 92.3 The Beat, No Color Lines, myself. Be Real, some Sinful from the Mexicans, I Man from the Mexicans. Some of us, you know, we would do things together. And that's what I think people confuse the black and brown thing. They think that this means some kind of like some peace treaty or something. It's not going to work for everybody.
Nah.
What we were doing it for is to show people that we can do things together. Now, we can't control what you guys do over here. I can't control your beefs over drugs over here. We can't control all these different things. But what we can do is say, hey, I'm Latino, I'm Hispanic, right? I'm a man. So what I want to do is do something for the kids, to do something positive for the kids. Be it a black kid, be it a brown kid. It doesn't matter. That's what a real man should think and do, right? So if this black man over here, like Cam, comes to me and says, I'm a black man, I'm going to do this same way. And I'm going to respect you as a black man. You're going to respect me as a Latino man. And that's what we're supposed to do with each other. We don't have to, you know, all be in love. And we ain't saying that when they say black and brown. It just says, let's be men and handle your business, bro. I got my side. You got yours. You're a man. I'm a man. Let's do this, you know, together. Let's show the kids that we could get together, have fun, invite each other to eat with each other, hang out, do things like that. And those things is what helps people grow to understand each other a little bit better, and hope we could, you know, hope this spreads farther out and gets a better understanding. So I think sometimes, like when I hear in this generation, people think black and brown, oh, they ain't no black and brown this, they ain't no this, y'all be this. And no, hold on, man. Like, y'all are grabbing what we're doing in the 90s and you're not understanding. It's not going to work for everybody, but there is a unification of black and browns when we get together. Like I said, Westside Radio, I helped a lot of people with that platform, and the majority of them were black. You know what I mean? It had nothing to do with that. It was about, you know, I'm popping. I'm going to get y'all popping. And the Hispanics too. Psycho Realm, Lil Rock, whatever I played too. Mr. Criminal, you know what I mean? Cypress Hill, whatever we're doing both, you know what I mean? It's and so that's why I want people to understand about black and brown unity is more of a mindset of like, you know, I'm responsible on my side, you responsible on your side. Let's do something together, guys, and let's go. You know, I could always work with the Nation of Islam. I've done a lot of work with them in the jails, in the community, because we treat each other as men. How you doing, bro? What's happening, brother? All right, cool. I'm here for the Hispanics. You here for the blacks. Let's go do our thing. Let's have a good time. Respect each other, and that's black and brown unity. That's how you start something to let people know that, you know, our kids need to play with each other like when I was young, playing with my black friends. You know what I mean? Yeah, there's gonna be little fights here, problems there. That's just life, man. That ain't never gonna change, but it doesn't mean that we have a hatred for each other on that level. You know what I mean? So that's what I try to tell people about black and brown when you hear black and brown unity. Sometimes it's just more of a mindset of let's do something positive for the kids, man, and you know, and show the kids a better way. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, and it's showing leadership. It's showing intention and showing that we could do this, because a lot of people think from the outside looking in that we can't get money together and that we're going to destroy the neighborhoods and we're going to keep on tearing each other down.
Yeah.
And it's everybody knows, it's not a secret that that's kind of the design. You know what I'm saying? That's why there's liquor stores in every fucking corner, and that's why they allow so much to be to where it is. So I believe that those type of situations we defeated, and standing together we could show it's not kumbaya, it's not we're gonna save the world or whatever, but hey, it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, for sure. Starts one by one, man.
Hell yeah. How we doing? Critical, you were looking like you're just tired of the headphones, huh? I got you. Well, shit, man, before we get up out of here, you are not going to escape. We are got another episode of Mr. Criminal's Game Show. And today, we got our special guest, Julio G, legendary Westside Radio. How you doing today, brother?
I'm good, bro.
Man, I see you smoking some good LA Kush.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I see you passing it. I still ain't rolled it up. I need to throw on this hoodie because it's cold as fuck around here.
There you go.
But yeah, man, we got a couple questions.
All right.
A or B. They go from the left to the right. We try to
Alright.
make them easy as possible because when I was in school, I didn't really get tests. And even on the bubbles, sometimes I'll fill up all 3, man. I just said, fuck it, man. I'm giving up on this shit.
That's
so
right.
I'm going to make these tests easy for my guests as well. California love. You have that California love in you. Would you prefer summertime or wintertime?
Summertime.
Summertime. Baby, baby.
all
And why
day.
is that?
I just enjoy music in the summer, and I just like, I like being out. I like riding my bike at the beach in the summer. Man, when I had a convertible Jeep, I used to take the top down the whole damn summer.
Hell yeah.
I just like the summertime. I enjoy music that comes out in the summer, man. I really do. That's my time to really listen to music in summertime.
There you go. If it came to video games, you ever play video games?
I don't really play video games.
You weren't into them, so
Nah.
this
Old
question
school
doesn't apply
ones.
to you. Okay, well shit, let's
Old
go.
school ones, yeah.
Okay, let's go. Atari or Nintendo?
Atari,
Okay. What was your favorite game on Atari?
Asteroids.
Asteroids. You don't want to know.
That's
Asteroids.
how far back I go back.
We got 2 arcades in the next room,
Uh-huh.
and before he leaves, it could be off camera, but I want to see how we play some Asteroids. All right, I got another question. This is kind of a hot seat situation.
Yeah.
I have to ask everybody this just for their opinion. Obviously, it's a hot topic in our culture.
Yeah.
But George Lopez said something that was a little offensive to the community about Ralph Barboza.
Uh-huh.
So it's been a little bit of a hot topic. People want to know who's a better comedian or who do people makes the bigger impact on the community, who shows love. Who would you prefer, George Lopez or Ralph Barboza?
Oh, I gotta say, I gotta say that I used to like George Lopez TV show
Okay.
with his wife and everything. It was a cool show. I enjoyed that show a lot.
Yeah.
He threw me off when he went on The View, and he said, "If you're against trans, you're against me," or something to that effect. So he kind of lost me right there. I was
That's
like,
weird. I didn't hear that.
yeah, I was like, bruh, what? I was like, skirt. What?
I never knew that.
Bruh. Excuse me. So I'm gonna have to go Ralph Barboza right now, man. Plus,
Okay.
I do like that young brother, man. I really enjoy, cause I like comedy. I like comics, stand-up comedy. So I enjoy him because they're like rappers to me. You know what I mean? They have their own style.
Yeah.
Every comedian has his own flow, his own style, his own pocket. And that's what I notice about different comedians. And I do enjoy his style. He has a cool Hispanic kind of style to him.
Yeah.
But I love George Lopez too. He's very funny. But he lost me with that. But I'm gonna go with Ralph.
Yeah, if I knew that, I think most people's opinion would change if they knew that fact, my boy. Shit, bro. George is a homie. I be kicking it with him and shit. And I never heard him say no shit like
Yeah,
that.
it was kind of crazy. I don't know what he meant by that, but okay.
Yeah, I don't think I want to know. But I'm sorry, dog. Okay, coming from the old school era where everything was physical and now everything's digital and everything is hard to get a hold of something and everything's so fast, would you prefer the old school physical era or now the quick to get it digital?
Oh man, I have to say, because I'm such a fanatic of music, I have to say that I'd have to go with the digital. And the reason why is because I just like music. I like to be able to just get to it and find it. And I'm able to find things today that when I was a kid, I didn't have it. I couldn't find that record, you know what I mean? That song, you know what I mean? And to be able to do that today at such a quick way, you know what I mean? It's just, for a music person like myself, I just gotta say I love it, you know what I mean? I love it because I'm able to find anything that I want.
You're
I was
for
looking
that instant gratification.
Yeah, I was looking for, the other day I wanted to listen to the soundtrack of Boulevard Nights.
Okay.
Right? I was like, I love that soundtrack.
Hell yeah.
I love that soundtrack. It's just so cool to listen to, smoke a joint and just listen to it. But I just couldn't get it like that. Before I was thinking to myself, damn, if I had to find this shit, I'd have to go record store to record store. Hey, anybody got the Boulevard Night soundtrack?
It was a search.
That's a search.
Yeah.
I used to have to do that shit, dog. You
Yeah.
couldn't. You have a party on Saturday, or you know what I mean. You got to go find these records. There's some new song out.
Yeah.
You got to find it. It's not at this record store, or it's sold out. You got to drive to the next record store. You got to go to this. There was a mission, bro. Record gets scratched. Oh, I need this song. Scratched where? Oh no. Gotta find another one. Gotta drive to Hollywood. Oh, they don't have it. Gotta drive over there, Silver Lake. Oh, luckily they got it. Oh man, dog. Oh man, those are the days. That's why I say nowadays I'm just like, oh, what's the name of that song again? Oh, I just or hear it somewhere and I'm like, boom, I just Shazam it. Oh yeah, that's right. All right, here you
So
go. Boom,
easy,
in my
right?
playlist. Boom, play it. I love it, bro. Come on, you can't be. Come on, man. I
While
love
you're
that.
driving with your feet up
Yeah,
and
for
and your
sure.
car's driving you in
Yeah,
your Tesla.
for sure. Come on, man. You
Yeah.
can't complain about that. Come
Yeah,
on,
you can't
man.
complain. And you just woke up from a nap while you're still driving. and shit.
Exactly, bro.
Yeah, the
exactly.
digital era is crazy.
I
dog.
love it.
Shit, so this one might be a biased, or it might not be.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But would you prefer the NW, if you could get rid of one forever, not an island, just forever,
Mm-hmm.
and you could only keep one, would you rather keep the NWA era or the Death Row era?
That's a tough one, man. That's a tough one because the death row era, because people died during that era, so
was thinking
I
the
do
same
feel a little bit of a ways about it. But musically, it was just it just made everybody in LA step their game up.
It did.
It was just a different. It changed Ice Cube, you know. You didn't really see Ice Cube ever doing no Westside, this West Coast with a W and all. You know what I mean? That all came from the Death Row era. You know what I mean? With Tupac.
Mm-hmm.
So, it made everybody step their game up. Then you had the East Siders came, and then you know what I mean? It was just, man. I would have to say the Death Row era. I would say Death Row.
Death
It was
Row?
just Death Row era. It was
All right.
just so much competitive at that time, and some incredible music came out,
Yeah.
from both sides. So
There it is there.
there it is. There.
Hey, I have two more questions,
Yeah.
and then you're off the hook. We could stop all the pressure. I had two more questions, and one of them is going to be a little bit controversial, and one of them might hurt some feelings. I really don't give a fuck. You don't have to answer if you don't want to.
No problem.
Okay, American, I'm sorry, not American. You brought up one of the movies earlier. Boulevard Nights or Blood In, Blood Out?
Boulevard Nights.
Hell yeah, you said that off top.
No problem.
Here's a controversial one. If you had to get rid of one for the culture for the rest of eternity and keep one, would you rather keep Julio Cesar Chavez or would you rather keep Oscar De La Hoya?
I'm keeping Julio Cesar Chavez.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And me too, after I seen him in that fucking weird-ass D&G see-through with his nipples the other night. I was like, what the fuck is going on with my boy over there?
And he
dog?
left his boy hanging the other day that lost the fight.
Yeah?
He what's his name?
Garcia.
Garcia, man. He lost the fight, man. De La Hoya didn't hang with him till the end of the night, man.
Well, with that see-through
was
D&G
terrible.
shit, seeing his nipples all on pay-per-view, dog, I'm like, what really is going on with this golden boy? Huh?
Yeah, come on,
Yeah, we
man.
need to address that, dog. That is not a good look for the culture.
Nah, bro.
Well, there it is there, man. Much love to the legendary Julio G, man. Anything
thank you
else
for
you want to
having
say
me, man.
before you get up out of here?
Well, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and checking us out today, and just thank you for all the support you give me over the years. I appreciate y'all very much, man, for sure. And we always got more stuff coming, man, you know?
That's right. And much love to you for everything you do for the culture.
Oh,
Like I
thank
said,
you,
big
man.
dog.
And same thing for you, man. I got to give you your props too, man, because you've been doing your thing, and it's very inspirational to a lot of people to look up and see somebody like you. You grind, man. You work hard, man. I've been watching you for years, and you never stopped your thing. You don't let people slow you down. I think people need to pay more attention to you and what you're doing, because you're doing it so independent, so on your own. You got your own spot. I love this, man. That's what you're doing. So I salute you, man, because it's very inspirational, man.
I appreciate
Absolutely,
that,
man.
G. That's coming from a legend, man, and that shit humbled me again.
Nah, you're
brother.
doing it, man. You're
Appreciate
doing it. I like to see Latinos winning, bro.
yeah.
We need to support each other more. You know what I mean? I don't like to see like a lot of the stuff that's going on. I don't want to get too into that because it's not my era, my time, not my generation. You know what I mean? But I'd rather see us working with each other, man, and doing things with each other. I'd rather see us making music with each other instead of always falling for the trap of the controversy. I just want to say this before I go. Back in 1990, we had Mentirosa, the record with Mellow Man Ace that had took off. And then La Raza came like 3 or 4 months after that, both produced by Tony G. I introduced Mello to Tony G. Frost was already a friend of Tony G. So it was all of us together, you know what I mean? Like kind of a family thing. But we went out to East LA College, man, and just did this show one day that it was just sold out, and I mean we just felt so on top, man. Like we felt so proud of ourselves, and we just felt so being young and just as Hispanics, all our people there, and the flags flying, and you know, I want you guys to experience that. I want you guys to feel that. And you can't feel that when you're doing this negativity towards each other. You just can't. It's not gonna happen. You gotta have that feeling, man. It's something it'll take you to another level, man. It'll make you love your brother even more. And like we need to make more music together. We need to do more shows together. We need to do that because that's what I want people to feel. I think people get caught up in the beefs too much, and then the fans too. You're at fault too, because you guys put the battery in the back too. So you got to remember as fans, man, you guys got to be easier and understand that this stuff is not helping our community. You know what I mean? I want to see you guys make music together. I want to see all you guys, even the ones that have had beefs, you guys should just do something secretly and quietly and just drop it on them. Wow. You know what I mean? Because that's the impact. That's how you take advantage. That's Eazy-E, what he would do. He takes advantage of the moment. How you make something negative and make something positive out of it. That's what I like to see. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying this towards anybody directly. I'm saying it just across the board. Like I said, I don't have sides. I don't really know what people's beefs are going on, but I catch little stuff here and there. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I'd like to see you guys do more stuff together, man, and find a way to make good music, man. Make good music so you guys can get out in that show one day and you're going to feel that shit, man. Telling you, man, that feeling was incredible. I still feel it to this day. I'll never forget that day, man. Never forget that. And we did it many times, but that specific day is when we knew, damn, we're popping right now. The Hispanics in L.A., we got them locked. Oh, they love it. Wow. And the songs are so fun. And it was just, man, it was great, man. I want you guys all to feel that one day. You know what I mean? All you guys to feel that.
Wow. And that's coming from a person that's experienced success more than most artists, been on tours around the world, hit countries that people that claim they're popping out here will never ever hit their foot on, and humbly saying that because of your contribution. So for the fact that you speak on a level of success, experience, and having that OG knowledge, motherfuckers need to wake up. You guys heard it right there.
That's right,
man. It's time to stand together, put the bullshit aside, put the egos aside, and let's stand together and get this money. And make history more than money.
For sure.
Because that's what's more impactful.
That's
for
what I
our
remember.
people.
Yeah, for
man.
sure.
Man, thank you, Julio.
Thank
G.
you, Criminal. I appreciate you, man. Thank you very
G.
much, man. I love this. Let's do it another time, man.
Yeah,
you know
you
what I
already
mean?
know. It's
come
coming
back and
soon.
smoke some more. Let's do it.
Hell yeah. We're going to definitely smoke some more. Before we get up out of here, I respect everybody's beliefs, but it's part of my honor and my duty to honor God and say a quick little prayer before we get up out of here.
Sure.
So, Father God, I appreciate you today. Thank you for waking us up. Thank you for blessing us with another day of opportunity to live our life, live our dreams, to be able to fellowship and program with our people, with our brother Julio G that was able to pull up today. Bless us with his testimony of his beautiful life story, how he was able to turn his music, passion of love for music, into a career and in a life-changing situation for many people in this world, Lord, and including myself. And we want to thank everybody that supports and subscribes all over the world. I want to thank everybody that taps in and shows love to our movement of positivity. Thanks to my baby girl. Thanks to my son Fabian here today. Thanks to Critical and the whole team that helped make this production a reality. And want to just thank you for letting us live another day. Shout out to everybody. Much love and amen. That's how we do it.
Amen. That's
Hell
right.
yeah, man. That's how we do it.
I love God.
Until we up out of here, to the next episode, much love to everybody. Thank you, Critical, for troubleshooting this with me this week. It was a crazy-ass week.
Yes, sir.
We stayed until like 3 in the morning just on wire management last night.
You got it done, though.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for everybody tapping in, and we up out. Episode number 10 is in the books. The legendary Julio G. Make sure you give him a follow, give him a love, give him some support, and we up out. West.
That's right. Westside Radio, baby. Let's go.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsors of the week. It is Illegal Image Clothing. You could check them out on Instagram, Illegal Image Clothing. And then we got our brother and the one that's putting it down, punching back in LA County and all over Southern California. His name is Attorney Rosenberg. You guys could check him out at Attorney Rosenberg. And then if you guys want to get some training, some fitness, some nutrition, get your mind right, get your body right, get right for summer, tap in with my boy JB Fitness. That's JB_Fitness on Instagram. And we also got the homies at Rap Kings. That's right, Rap Kings _LV. If you guys want to get your walls, businesses wrapped, vehicles, they do it all. So make sure you guys let them know that Mr. Criminal sent you. And last but not least, we got Tradecraft Farms. That's right, the homie Daniel Rodriguez of the UFC pulled up this week and tapped in with a bag of that Tradecraft, and we've been in touch. So I want to give a shout out to all our sponsors. Make sure you guys give them a follow. Make sure you guys show some love and support.